Year-old student Sandra Wilhelm for unpaid loans and the cost of a car. Sandra says Bervin's lawsuit is an attempt to keep her in his life.
Mr. McCall, it is your claim in this complaint that you were romantically involved with the defendant and made a series of loans to her, including a car.
Yes, ma'am.
Then she broke it off, and you want your money back.
Yes, Your Honor.
When and where did you meet Mr. McCall?
I met Sandra at a local pub that we both frequented.
Okay. When?
Sometime in March, Your Honor.
And when did you make this first loan?
Well, the first thing that happened, I had bought a computer, and Sandra agreed to come over and download it for me. Then she'd had an accident, and she had picked up a DUI, and her car was wrecked. So I then called her and asked her if I could be of any help to her. She said, well, my mother's got a car, that 88 Crown Victoria. Her mother was asking $2,300 for the car. I gave Sandra $2,300. We went in. She gave us the title. We then proceeded to go down and get it plated and titled.
Did you expect Miss Wilhelm to pay you back the money?
Yes, I did, Your Honor.
Did you ever tell her that?
Yes, I did, Your Honor.
Shh. Quiet. When did you tell her that?
I told her that before we bought the car. I said,
What did you say?
I said, if we buy a car, I'll help you get a car. But I said, I want title to that car. She said, well, how am I going to get plates and insurance and the rest of it? Why don't we just purchase a vehicle? You'll have the first lien on the vehicle so that I'm protected.
Well, the truth of the matter is, you really are not terribly protected. All you are, if you have title to the car, is you're exposed in case she has an accident, in case she doesn't get insurance.
Well, she did that.
I know, but that's a problem. Miss Wilhelm, first of all, how old are you?
32.
How old are you, sir?
71.
Okay. Miss Wilhelm, this, whatever kind of relationship you had with the plaintiff was of relatively short duration. I read your answer very clearly, and your answer says that he clearly wanted more from the relationship than you were prepared to give him.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Can I see the title to the car, please?
Yes.
Who
I
has
just
the
have a
title?
certificate of title.
I'd like to see it, please.
Here's a copy of the title.
And I'd like to see the certificate of
This
title.
is Exhibit B and C showing the registration and the application.
I just want the title to the car.
He has the title.
This is a copy. Who has
Yeah.
the original?
I have the original at home. I just made a copy of it, Your Honor.
Well, that wasn't very smart, sir.
Well, I'm not.
That wasn't very smart, because I read the defendant's answer very clearly. She says, Bervin's goal was to control me. When I didn't respond to his advances, he became increasingly hostile. Is that true?
That is correct.
It's not true.
Eventually, I told him that he could have the car back because it's not worth the harassment. That's what you wrote. Is that what you wrote?
Yes.
Good. Sign the title over to him. Sign it over. Now,
He has the title.
you're going to sign the copy. We'll conform it. Show where to sign, Bird, would you please? You're getting good at that.
Where? He told me he didn't want the car, Your Honor.
Sign the title over to him.
Signature of seller. And print your name.
Now, give it to him, please. Thank you, Bird. Perfect. Now, let's get to the second part of your lawsuit is you made a series of loans to the defendant. When did they start?
Started after we had purchased the automobile.
That's not true.
She just needed money time after time, and I felt like we were committed enough. We'd already committed that we would go to Texas once she got through her ordeal, and that she would move with me, take the kids. She wanted out of Indiana, so did I.
She's 40 years your junior.
Yes, I know, Your Honor.
Very foolish.
Yes, Your Honor.
Very foolish. Do you have a promissory note, sir?
No, Your Honor.
You gave her money for a lawyer.
Yes,
How much money did you give her for a lawyer?
$500.
That's not true.
You gave her money to pay her mortgage.
$500.
Did you ever get a note from her for any of those things?
No, Your Honor, I was too involved.
Well, you were too involved, and that's what you get when you're too involved.
That's
sir.
right.
You don't get paid for that.
That's right.
That's stupidity.
Well, I said that myself, to myself.
Well, if you said it to yourself, unfortunately, you got to listen to me say it to you again.
That's okay.
So this was a lesson that cost you perhaps a couple of $1,000s. Miss Wilhelm says that you never gave her any money, I assume. Is that right?
That's correct.
Never gave you any money?
No.
I don't know whether I believe you that he never gave you any money. I sort of think he probably did. In any event, you knew each other for a total of maybe 8 weeks. In the 8 weeks, the plaintiff is out a substantial amount of money. I can't get you back all the money that you were out, sir, because I really feel as if you didn't have a contract with her with regard to these cash loans that you made to her, cash gifts that you made to her. But clearly it was your intention to have a hold on the car, which was the largest amount of money that you turned over to the plaintiff, by having your name placed as a lien holder on the car. That is some evidence of a debt. That is why you got your car back. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Rest of your claim is dismissed. That's all.
33-year-old Sheriff's Deputy Edwin Brock is suing 55-year-old entrepreneur Donald Courtney for filing a false complaint after a traffic stop.
Order. All rise. Now, this is case number 154 on the calendar in the matter of Brock versus Courtney. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat, please.
Mr. Brock, you are a peace officer. Is that correct?
That's correct, Judge.
Your complaint is that you made a traffic stop of the defendant for speeding, and that subsequent to giving him a ticket, he filed a complaint against you, which was patently false, with Internal Affairs causing an investigation. And while you were cleared of all charges, that report will remain on your file permanently, and you want him to pay you damages.
That's correct.
That's what the case is about. So I have a couple of questions, then I'm going to go to Mr. Courtney. How long have you been a peace officer?
I've been a peace officer, Your Honor, for approximately 9 years.
And what is your assignment, sir?
I'm assigned to the traffic division as a motor officer and an accident investigator.
When did this incident happen?
The incident occurred on September 2nd of 2000,
What time of day?
approximately 8:30 in the morning.
And what was the reason that you stopped the defendant's car?
On that date and time, Your Honor, I was in uniform working speed enforcement in my jurisdiction when my attention was drawn to a vehicle traveling at a high rate of speed on a street named El Camino Real. My visual estimation of the vehicle's speed was approximately 50 miles an hour, which is about 15 miles an hour over what's posted for that roadway. And that roadway in itself has numerous driveways and businesses in this particular area, which restricts a sight distance for vehicles traveling.
Whatever. So you thought he was going about 15 miles over the posted speed limit?
That's correct.
You pulled him over?
Yes.
When you pulled him over, you identified yourself as a peace officer?
Yes, I did, and I was in uniform.
Mr. Courtney, I'm going to come to you next, and I want you to tell me your version of what happened after you were pulled over.
The officer came up to my window, and I inquired of him as to why
Well, just tell me what you said. Not inquired of him. Tell me what you said to him. He came up to your window. Did he say anything to you, or did you say something first?
He asked me for my identification.
Did he say, can I have your identification
Yes.
or your driver's license and registration?
Exactly. Yes, he
No.
did.
Which one?
He asked me for my driver's license and for registration.
Did you give it to him?
I looked for it, and then I suddenly remembered that all of my identification, along with my passport, was in my briefcase, which was sitting at home in another vehicle with my driver waiting to take me to LAX. I was on my way to Europe.
And you told him you didn't have
Yes, I did.
driver's license nor the registration for the car.
Yes.
What did he say to you then?
He asked me for my particulars, my age, my date of birth, my address, my height, my weight, color of my eyes, and I gave him that information.
Okay. Go ahead.
And he then returned to his motorcycle, which was probably 5 to 10 yards, parked behind my car, and he was there for quite some time.
And then?
Then he returned to the car, and he presented me with a ticket to sign.
Mm-hmm.
And I signed it.
And then?
And then he tore the ticket off, and he left.
So that all sounds very nice. And then what did you do?
Well, there was a lot that transpired in between
Well,
because
I'm
of his
asking
actions.
you. I mean, we're not going to play I've got a secret in 20 questions, Mr. Courtney. So far, you told me what happens when you make a routine traffic stop, license, registration you don't have, checks your ID, gives you a ticket, and you both go on your way. That sounds all
the gentleman
very nice.
here, while he's composed today, was quite...
No, just tell me what happened,
He was
Mr.
agitated.
Courtney.
He was very agitated.
Tell me, sir. He comes and he asks for your license and registration. You don't have it. I want you to tell me point by point, which I thought you did, what it was that caused you to file a complaint against him.
When he approached me, Your Honor, he appeared agitated.
How did he appear agitated?
When someone looks at a person and they're not composed, possibly he had a bad start to his day, I don't know, and he did.
So he appeared agitated to
Yes,
you?
he did.
Okay. Go ahead.
Then, when I told him that I didn't have my identification with me, he just didn't seem to believe me, and he became more agitated.
No, don't tell me agitated. What did he say to you, sir?
He told me he was going to take me to magistrate's court,
Okay, go ahead.
and that was after I had informed him that I was on my way to LAX to fly to Europe, so I assumed he was going to take me to magistrate's court. I was going to miss my flight.
So what did you say to him?
I just basically cooperated with him and gave
No,
me
no, tell me what
information
you
that he
said.
wanted to. I don't recall exactly what I said to him at that moment, but what I did do is I got on the phone and I dialed 911 right away.
Why?
Because of how he was conducting himself.
So far, I haven't heard anything, sir.
Well,
untoward.
I'm
Your Honor,
about to share it with you. He was
Well,
ver-
please,
he
share
was
it.
very animated.
How animated?
He was animated to the point whereby he was in my face in my car.
How was he in your car?
His face was literally 12 to 18 inches from my face, and I'm sitting in the driver's seat, rather than having a good 3-foot distance where people can just communicate with one another. He was in the car, so to speak. He was in my face. He was not happy. He was in a bad mood. He was agitated.
Your Honor, this man is perjuring himself.
Just a second. Now, after he left, according to you, there were no words that he said to you. It was his affect. Is that right?
No, he had threatened to take me to magistrate's court, and
That
I
is
couldn't
his right.
understand why.
That is his right to take you to magistrate's court, sir. So that's not a threat. There were no words that he said to you that were threatening. It was his affect.
And his hand on his gun, Your Honor.
Yes.
This was just a simple traffic stop
Well,
on a
it's
Saturday
simple-
morning.
It's a simple traffic stop, Mr. Courtney, except that the person who he stopped had no identification, had no license, had no registration. So what initially is a traffic stop becomes something else when there is no identification. I'm going to repeat myself. Other than the fact that you say his affect appeared to be agitated, he did not threaten you in any way. He didn't curse at you in any way. Is that right?
Oh, that's not correct, Your Honor.
Well, what did he say to you, sir? That's what I'm trying to get to,
The
Mr. Courtney.
intonation in his voice, he was very abusive in how he addressed me.
Tell me, sir, what he said.
I don't recall the exact words, Your Honor, but just the manner in which he conducted himself.
May I
He didn't
s-
comport himself properly.
All right. May I see the report that was filed, please?
This is a letter that he wrote to my department
I'd like
for
to see
Internal
that.
Affairs. That's the letter right there.
Your Honor,
things-
may I make a point, please?
Yes.
Some of the points he made in the letter using the words.
Go ahead. Shh. Just a minute. Go ahead.
This incident occurred September 2nd. The Criminal Investigation Department conducted its investigation, wrote a letter back saying that they weren't going to pursue anything against the gentleman. Therefore, I assumed it was fait accompli, everything was over. I talked with my lawyer here in Beverly Hills. He said, pack it in, forget it. So I shredded everything.
Well, I have it here.
No, I appreciate that, but I wanted to peruse it prior to coming on the show.
Okay. Well, in the letter, Mr. Courtney, that you've written to the police department, you have accused the plaintiff of not only menacing affect, but of cursing at you on at least 3 occasions, something that one would necessarily remember if you remember his affect. I'm going to make a mark.
Your Honor, while you were
Just a
looking at
second. Just a second, sir. Would you show this to the defendant, please?
Thank you.
Read the portions that I've checked.
I apologize. I don't have my glasses with me.
It's a strong
Are
enough
we in
for
the same
anybody.
age? We're in the same age range?
I'm younger than you are.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Sheriff's Deputy Edwin Brock claims Donald Courtney filed a false complaint after a traffic stop. Donald claims Deputy Brock was verbally abusive.
Can you read with my glasses?
Yes, I can. Perfectly.
Now, I'll take them back. And the paper.
Thank you.
Without going into graphic detail. Well, I best go into graphic detail because we have a record here. When I was signing the ticket, in shrieking tones, according to you, he said, sign the ticket or you're going to court now. That I would remember. Then, you say, he said to you, with his finger, you and your limousine. And then, you say, he said to you, when you said, please just give me the ticket. And at this point, he erupted and said, I've had enough from you. Those are things that I would remember if I were telling a story, Mr. Courtney. Mr. Brock, according to your complaint, sir, you made this stop, and the time you made the stop, you took out a recording device. Is that right?
Essentially, Your Honor, yes.
Not essentially. That's what you said here. You said, I got off my bike and turned on my tape recorder.
Yes. It's a device that I wear on my belt. It's not something that I have to remove from a stored place.
I understand that.
Okay.
And you take that off because it's protocol to turn on the tape recorder so that you can memorialize the stop. Is that right?
That's correct.
Where is it?
I have a copy of the tape right here.
I'd like to hear it.
Okay.
Bird.
It's difficult to hear, Your Honor, because of the background noise of traffic, but you absolutely will not hear foul language from either party on that tape.
What are you stopping me for? Still the speed limit. What's the speed limit? 35? 35 where? On Speedy Boulevard, the Garden Gate. Are you serious? I'm very serious. Jesus Christ, I lived here for years. I never knew it. I thought it was 50. Are you serious? From where? Where is it 35? From where to where? Encinitas Boulevard to Garden View Road. Okay, which is Garden View? Just past. Oh. Are you serious? No, that street's been there for 35 years. No, I know, but I thought it was 50 the whole way down. Wow. I'll be damned. Well, let me start with your registration and insurance. How about that? I can't believe it. I'm flying to Zurich right now. I'm trying to get to the airport. How do you go to the airport without identification? Because I'm going home. The limo's picking me up. Have your vehicle insurance with you? Nope. Right, that's the only one you have? No, I have one. Okay. Bring the insurance report with you. Not admitting guilt to the charge of being cited here for the speed violation. You have to appear in court for the charge if you're not admitting guilt to anything. Okay, your court date starts November 13th, 8 o'clock. Okay? You said I'm not admitting guilt. Well, your constitutional right, though. Even if you agree to... What are you charging me for? Speed violation, or proof of insurance in the vehicle. Well, what is the speed violation? What do you mean, what is it? Well, what was I doing? Well, you're over speeding. 48 miles an hour. I mean, really, you really have nothing better to do than stop me 15 miles an hour over the speed limit in this town? I mean, come on. Let me ask you a question. When should I start writing tickets? Well, let me say something to you. No, don't say anything else. Why not? I can say whatever I'd like. You sure can. Yeah. Why you sign a ticket, though? You're going to sign the ticket and not delay me any longer. The ticket asked you nicely, and I did ask you nicely. Don't be silly. No, there's no more we have to do. I'm standing out here. Well, I did the last time. Let me tell you what happened the last time. I don't care what happened to the last officer. I'm hanging out here with these cars going 45 miles an hour. Now, I want you to sign the ticket so I can terminate. You want to terminate the contract by signing the ticket here. I'm not going to sit here and argue with you. You're not arguing. I'm trying to talk to you now. I don't want to do it anymore. You know why? It's going downhill. You're getting the ticket. From what? You're getting the ticket whether you like it or not. I don't mind. Okay, I would like you to sign so I can go. Relax. You can voice your opinion in court. If you sign the ticket and you can relax on your trip to Switzerland or wherever else you You want to go sign in front of a magistrate, you can sign it. If not, you sign it right there. They can be taped later on. Right here on the side of the road is not the place to have debate with cars going behind me at 40 and 50 miles an hour. I'll tell you, this is not the end of it. Respect, you know what? Not the end of it. You won't be the first one. Oh, no, you don't know what happened last time I took an officer's report. Here's your copy. Hang on, don't go. I need your things, your thumbprint here, since you don't have any driver's license. Would you put your right thumb on the pad right here, please, and just lightly touch the box? That's it. Good day. I got a problem. Drive safely.
You're way out of line, Mr. Courtney. Way out of line. Didn't you know he had a tape recorder going?
Yes, I did.
Well, if you knew he had a tape recorder going, sir, and I've just listened to the entire conversation that the two of you had, there is nothing that he did to you that was untoward that day?
Respectfully, you weren't there. You
I
didn't
don't care
see
whether
him.
I was there or not. I heard you.
I was there. I saw his facial remarks, his hand on the gun, and furthermore, I have a witness here with me today who will testify that he physically assaulted her in a court hallway 3 months later.
Do you want to know
gentleman-
something? I am not interested in your witness because that case, if it's a case at all, has absolutely nothing to do with this.
Yes, it does. We
Because
appeared in
you
court on that
wrote
day.
this letter in which you allege, in this letter, which went to Internal Affairs, that he on no less than 3 occasions cursed you. He did not. That was clearly a lie. Now, maybe its intention was to get somebody's attention, but it was a lie because I've just listened to this entire conversation.
Your Honor, the validity of the authenticity of that tape has not been proven.
To my satisfaction, Mr.
Not
Courtney.
to mine and not in a court of law.
Sir, you've subjected yourself to this jurisdiction. This isn't the first case that I've heard, Mr. Courtney. And this isn't the first tape that I've listened to.
Your Honor,
and
I
I'm
asked
telling
for
you
that information. It
and
was not
I'm-
provided.
And I'm telling you that the only one who was giving a hard time that day was you. As a matter of fact, there is some indication on this tape that you threatened him.
Where is
You
that?
said to him something about the last cop who gave me a ticket. And he replied very quietly, I don't care about the last cop that gave you the ticket. Please just sign this ticket. And he didn't threaten to take you to magistrate's court, sir. He only said to you, you can either sign the ticket here, sir, or you can sign it in magistrate's court. Why don't you please sign it here? Then you can be on your way.
But I did sign it.
Mr. Courtney, you were vindictive. The complaint that you made against him was totally without merit, based upon that tape, which is what cleared him. Very smart of the police department to have you carry around these tapes, guys. I want to tell you something. It should have been done a long time ago. Now, I don't believe that Mr. Courtney knew that you had that tape, because if he did, I doubt very much whether he would have consented to appear here today. He did. You're suing him for $5,000. I take judicial notice of the fact that a complaint to Internal Affairs remains on your record, even if there is a finding at the end of an inquiry that there was no basis for the complaint. It does remain on your record. I am granting you your complaint in the amount of $5,000. This case is over.
All parties on Habib versus Fields. Step forward, please.
27-year-old tutor Nafisa Habib is suing her ex-boyfriend's friend, 28-year-old bakery worker Anise Fields, for smashing her windshield with a baseball bat.
Ms. Habib, both you and the defendant have a child.
Yes.
And that child was fathered by the same person.
Yes.
So that's how you know each other.
Yes, ma'am.
And I would assume that you don't like each other.
I have no problem with that.
Well, then you think she doesn't like you.
I guess, yes.
Because it's your claim that she smashed the windshield of your car.
Yes, ma'am.
When did this take place?
On January 12, 2001.
Where?
His uncle's house, where he was staying there at the time.
This is the father
Yes.
of both children.
Yes, ma'am.
You have any other children?
Yes, I do.
How many?
4.
4 other ones?
4 children altogether.
Altogether. How old is your child?
My child is 3.
And yours?
He's 3. My child's 1 month older than her son.
Tell me how it happened that you happened to be in the same location.
January 12th, he called me and asked me to bring over my daughter. He doesn't see her a lot, so I brought her over.
To where he was staying?
Yes. While we were there, I was downstairs in like the lounge area in the basement, and he was upstairs. And I heard some banging on the door. I thought he had locked himself outside the house. So I called upstairs, Rude Boy, did you lock yourself outside?
What's his name?
Rude Boy. By that time, he came downstairs. He said, Anise is outside.
Anise,
Yes.
that's you.
Me. Yeah. I said, are you going to let her in? He said, no, she's upset. She's going to want to fight. I said, fight who? That's when she busted the basement window. She had a bat in her hand, and I saw her. Rude Boy ran upstairs. I stayed downstairs. They were outside. I heard her yelling, what do you think, I'm stupid? Is she in there? Is she in there? I heard him yelling. He said, I'm going to call the police. He came in the house. Apparently, she left. He came downstairs. He didn't call the police. We started cleaning up the glass. At that time, I said, Rude Boy, let me drop you off at work. When I went to my car, opened my door, I saw the glass on my seat and saw she bust my windshield. I switched cars with my father, and I went to her house. She invited me in. We talked for a while. The end result of the conversation was that Anise said she was going to pay for my windshield when she got her school money because she didn't have any money at the time. The very next day, after Anise busted my windshield, she called me and she apologized continuously. Nafisa, I'm sorry, this is not me. I don't go around busting girls' windshields. I felt sorry for Anise because I know how it is for a brother to allow you to believe that it's all about you and it's not all about you. So I felt sorry for her. I said, no problem, Anise, when you get the money.
So, bottom line is, you saw her with the bat break the basement window.
Yes.
But not your car window.
No.
But she did, in fact, tell you that she would pay for it. Okay, let me hear you.
She's lying. Basically.
Why don't you just tell me what happened? You
I wasn't there. No, I was not there. No.
Just a second. Are you telling me that you never went to the house?
Yes, that's what I'm telling you.
I think you have to come up with a better story than that. I'm going to tell you why. Because I believe her when she says that you came to the house. Mm-hmm. I believe her when she says that she saw you with a bat in your hand and that there was glass downstairs at the basement window. So I think we're going to start over again.
She's lying. He lives there. So he was there. So he can tell you. I was not there.
All right.
She's lying. I don't know. My basement window never got broke. I don't know how you can see somebody break the basement window from the basement. I don't know what she's talking about. Prior to this, she said I broke her window, busted her car up. She told my grandmother I did it. She let a friend of mine use her car. He crashed her car up. She said I did it. I don't know nothing about what this is about.
Ma'am, I'm sorry, Miss Judy, Judge Judy. I'm trying to be calm because I want to cry because I cannot believe that Jamar would sit up here and lie. He was supposed to watch Hanifa, but he said that he couldn't watch her. I didn't even know he was going to be here. Boy, you should be ashamed of yourself.
Shh. Don't talk to him.
I'm sorry.
Can I see the police report, please?
Yes, ma'am. Miss Judge Judy, he also told me, Rude Boy himself told me that Anise had intentions several times to pay you for your car windshield, but things that came up. When I went to her house, I met her mother, I met her daughter, Asia.
You brought your daughter
I
to
met
my
her
house.
son.
No. Okay, just a minute. Wait.
Oh, God.
I can't believe you, Rude Boy.
I can't believe you.
Oh, it's over.
Never was anything.
Whatever, Rude Boy. Whatever.
If you talk amongst yourselves, you're leaving.
Excuse me.
Tell me why you reported this to the police 2 days later.
Well, I believed Anise. When she said she was going to pay me for the windshield, and when she called me the very next day after it happened, I believed her. My father said, Nafisa, cover your tracks. If you get a police report, then at least you have that in case you have to take her to court. I did not believe it was going to have to go this far. It's only $183. I'm not asking her for cab money or the inconvenience she put me. My sister had to come and get me several times to pick up my children. I worked 2 jobs. I raised 4 children by myself. I don't have time for this. This is so juvenile.
Mr. Jones, do you currently have a relationship with any of the 3 or 4 women?
This one here.
This
No,
one.
he doesn't.
Shh,
I'm sorry.
No.
I apologize.
No.
I'm sorry.
So you currently have a relationship with Anise.
Yes.
How long have you had that relationship with Anise?
Since last year, we started dating each other and being in a relationship last summer.
How many children do you two have together?
1.
Your other 2 children, do they have the same mother?
No.
What do you do for a living?
My teacher aide, bus aide.
Nothing.
Shh.
I'm sorry. I apologize. He's lying. I'm sorry.
Well, how was she taking me to work if she came over?
Just listen to me.
She's making up stuff.
Listen to me.
I'm sorry. I understand. I apologize.
Teacher's aide, bus aides don't make a lot of money.
Small money.
Small money doesn't make 4 children.
No, I make 4 children, but my money take care of my children.
Impossible. Impossible. Okay. Do you work, Anise?
Yes.
What kind of work do you do?
I work at a bakery.
How many children do you have?
5.
Do all 5 children live with you?
Yes.
You make a lot of money in the bakery?
No, I don't. I also go to school.
How is your family subsidized?
From me working and going to school.
How much money do you make at the bakery?
I make $5.50 an hour.
$5.50 an hour gross does not support 6 people, and he certainly doesn't make enough to support you and your children. What kind of work do you do?
I tutor children full-time, and I work at a floral shop part-time.
How many children do you have?
4.
What other support do you get for your children?
I receive food stamps, and that helps a great deal.
How old are your other children, Mr. Jones?
10, 2.
So you have a new child, not with either one of these 2 women.
Yes.
And shortly after that child was born, you renewed your relationship with Anise, Is that right?
Yes.
Excuse me, miss.
Shh. $183 is what the windshield cost you?
Yes, ma'am.
Pay it. $183, judgment for the plaintiff.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Durham versus Creech, step forward, please.
18-year-old baseball player Justin Durham is suing his ex-fiancée, 19-year-old waitress Kara Creech, for the return of an engagement ring. Kara is countersuing for the return of her class ring.
Mr. Durham, you and the defendant were engaged to be married. It didn't work out. You want the engagement ring back.
That's right.
Ms. Creech says that you have some property of hers, you have a class ring, and there are some other expenses that she believes that are your responsibility as a result of this failed wedding. She is counterclaiming. She said you didn't pay for these rings yourself. There was some down payment made by her mother. So when did you become engaged?
Well, it was about 4 months ago.
Look at me. Not
I had asked her mom to help me with $100 to make the down payment on the ring. So she did. With no more than 3 days later, I gave her a crisp $100 bill.
Did he give you back the $100?
Yes, he just didn't pay the 10. I gave him 110, that was all.
Fine, so that's a wash. So that's taken care of. So other than the down payment, initially, you paid for the ring?
Right.
So 4 months ago, are you laughing? Is this funny?
No.
Good. 4 months ago, you became engaged. And for how long were you engaged?
For about five months.
1 month.
Just a second. Mr. Durham, I'm not very good at math. If you became engaged 4 months ago and you were engaged for 5 months, then we're talking about Back to the Future. Do you understand? How long were you engaged?
About a month and a half.
And what happened?
She cheated on me.
No, that's not true, Your Honor.
Okay, so as a result of that, you say the engagement was broken.
Right.
You broke the engagement.
No, she did.
Can I see the ring, please? Who has the receipt for the ring?
I do.
I want to.
Can I see both, please? How much did you pay for this ring?
$549.
No. You have a ring and then there's a bridal set.
I have the other piece. It was a set. It wasn't a separate piece.
Well, it's billed separately, sir. One says $371 and the other item was $128. So here we have the engagement ring. Now, is the engagement ring $371? Let's get it together, please. I mean, this is not, I've got a secret. Would you answer me?
Yes.
Yes, what?
The ring was $400.
$371.
$371, sorry.
Where's the other piece of this, the $128 set? You have that.
Right.
Can I see it, please? Okay. Very nice. And I see it's a nice little set because one of these things fits in here like this. I don't know how it does it. I'm never very good at that. There you go. Very pretty. Okay. So here's this piece back. Now, he gets them both. Engagement ring. Engagement's off. Engagement ring is given in contemplation of marriage. No more engagement. He gets the ring back. Return them. Sell them. Contemplate them. Now let's get to your counterclaim. Do you have her class ring?
Yes, I do.
Where is it? Perfect. Look how easy this is going to be. It's going to be a piece of cake. Class ring. He gets the receipts. She gets the class ring.
Got it.
Perfect. Now she's got a class ring back. Now, miscellaneous wedding expenses that you think he should pay for. You say you broke off this engagement.
Yes.
Tell me why.
Because I have a 1-year-old son and I am not putting what he does around my son. He came to my house one night and he was high and he was drunk.
Okay. And you thought it was a bad idea.
Yes.
So you broke off the engagement. Mm-hmm. And you have a wedding dress and some little wedding expenses.
Yes.
Then you made a good choice. You pay for those. You should have thought twice about becoming engaged to somebody that you knew for a relatively short period of time. Right?
Yes.
So consider yourself very lucky. Dye your engagement dress another color. Yellow. Use it again. And if he was the wrong person for you, it's a very cheap price. Right?
Yes.
Good luck. Everybody's got their property back? Goodbye.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Your Honor, this is case number 259 on the calendar in the matter of Allen versus Allen. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Mr. and Mrs. Allen, the defendants are your son and daughter-in-law, is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
And is your claim that they owe you jointly a substantial amount of money, both from loans and from a cell phone bill that they managed to creep up to the thousands? Mr. Allen, you were in jail. When?
The first time for 4 years, and then just this past November till this year.
You served 4 years in state's prison?
Yes, ma'am.
When was that?
From 97 until September of last year, 2000.
September of 2000. What were you convicted of, sir?
Arson, 451C.
What did you burn down?
Condemned apartment complex.
Then you were arrested again?
Mm-hmm.
For what?
A parole violation.
What was the nature of the violation?
A threat to harass another and leaving the county without a pass.
Who did you harass?
A former employer, supposedly.
Is the complaint of your parents that when you got out of jail, I believe the first time in the year 2000, you needed some money, and they helped you with a series of loans. How much did you give your son when he got out of jail the first time in 2000?
About $1,400.
How do you have that broken down?
$65 in uniforms, $60 for gas, and what he told me was birth control pills, $150 cash for expenses. He told me they needed money for food. We gave him $100. And then he switched jobs after he got arrested the second time, and he needed $60 for steel-toed shoes this time. We gave them $450 for rent while they were still living in their old apartment, $15 for DMV fees that he conveniently didn't have the day he had to go to the DMV, $85 for gas, usually, $20 here, $40 here, $200 for carpet for their rental, and $150 cash for miscellaneous expenses. And when we were on vacation in July, he called us and said he needed $80 to make his car payment. So we gave him that.
Miss Allen, did you have a conversation with your son with regard to paying you back this money?
Several times. It was always going to be paid back on payday, when they could get it or when he got paid from a separate job that he was doing. Each time the money just disappeared.
Well, but you kept giving him money, Miss Allen.
Well, because every time I asked him for money, he hinted that I was taking food out of my grandchildren's mouths.
So despite the fact that he didn't pay you back any of this money, week after week, month after month, he would ask you for more, $15, $100, $85, and you would continue to give it to him.
He did pay back some money. He did. He gave my husband $100 at the mall one day, $40 here, $20 here, a total of $435. So
Well,
just enough to keep me doling it out, I guess.
So what's the total of what you say he owes you now, without the phone bill?
$1,415.
And did you keep records of that money at the time that you actually gave him the money, or did you recap in your head at some later time?
I wrote it down in my, I have an address book. I just wrote it down, how much I gave him, but I didn't write dates or anything. I just wrote it down so I could keep track, so when I said, hey, you owe me this much money, I would at least know how much.
Okay. Now tell me about the telephone bill.
He had some problems, and he said that his wife would feel a lot better if she had a way to get a hold of him, which, knowing his track record, that was a good idea. She needed a way to get a hold of him. So he asked me if I would get a cell phone in my name. I already had one, and my husband and I both have cell phones, and he said he would pay the monthly bill on that.
And did he do that?
He paid one bill of $144 because the phone got disconnected, and I just wasn't going to pay it anymore.
How much is still owed on his bill?
It totals $2,008.05. And to date on both the cell phone and the loan, he's only paid $435.
How hear you?
There's a lot to be told, Your Honor. We'll start with the loans, the miscellaneous loans. When I came home, my wife was working between 40 and 60 hours a week and making over $2,000 a month. We didn't borrow money from her when I first came home the first time. We had no need to borrow money from her. I had $200 gate money a substantial amount of money for me to have to be home and find a job and get work. I remember her offering to pay for uniforms. I've never once, there's a lot of things in her list of loans that she said, as for example, for rent for the new house or carpet for the new house. We moved out less than a mile from her house to where she could be closer to the grandkids. It was kind of like a helping thing. I had to get away from the place where I was, so she helped us out. It was her friends. We rented the the house from.
Is what you're saying, Mr. Allen, that you didn't take this money from your mother?
No, I didn't call her and say, Mom, I need money, please. You know, you're taking food out of my kid's mouth. I would never say that to her.
That's not what I asked you. What I asked you was, are you telling me that your mother is lying when she says that she gave you, over a period of time, $1,415 in small amounts for a variety of things? Shoes, uniforms, gas money, a month's rent, money for carpeting. Are you telling me that she's lying when she's telling me that?
I'm not saying she's lying about those things, but as for her to say that she loaned it to us and said, okay, you'll give it back to me, the agreement was, here you go. It wasn't, Mom, I need money, I'll give it back to you on Friday when I get paid. Mom,
well, how
I'll
would
give you
she
money.
know that you needed money?
We would be talking. You see, my mom keeps everything
listen
close.
to me. How would she know that you needed money? How would she know, for instance, that you needed money for the DMV and that you didn't have it?
She was with me when we went to the DMV. She was with me. I went to go pull out money. My wife had the check. She said, oh, I'll take care of it. I was driving her around that day. Her car was in the shop. It was like gas money. I mean, this is how she works. She'll say, I'll take care of that, and then 5 days later when she's angry at you, she'll try to sue you for it.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Roberta and Donald Allen say their son, Daniel Allen, owes for loans they made after he got out of jail. The Allens say Daniel served 4 years on an arson conviction.
Let's go to the phone bill.
We could talk about the phone bill.
We could.
The phone bill.
I think that right now is the appropriate time.
Back in November, me and my wife tried to set up a cell phone, and they wanted because we had a bankruptcy, they wanted a $1,000 deposit.
So she wasn't doing so well in her job.
No, we had a bankruptcy 3 years previously. It was just something, our credit was messed up. It had nothing to do with, us not having money, but they wanted to deposit a high one. I was talking to my mom about a cell phone. My mom said, hey, I can get one on my account. It won't cost you guys anything. You just give me the $20 for the phone, $40 a month for 500 local, whatever the minutes were. It was like 2,000 minutes a month. We said, yeah, sure, let's do that. That'll help out great. I was incarcerated 3 weeks after we had the phone. I went back for the second time for the threat to harass. My wife, who was handling everything by herself and didn't have an extra income now that I was gone again, she called my mom and said, hey, my mom would call and say, hey, the phone's due, and you can ask her. She said, hey, don't worry about it. I'll handle it until you guys get back on your feet, and that's exact words. I even called my mom from jail and said, hey, Mom, I don't know what you want to do with the phone. You want to take it back? It'll cost me more money to take the phone back.
Where do you get $2,008 in telephone calls?
We've never seen a bill.
Can I see the bill?
These are the front pages to the bills, and I've given him several bills, which he subsequently tore up because he didn't want his wife to see what phone calls were on him. I have the complete...
No, I want the bills with what calls were made.
Here.
The last bill I have here indicates $802.15, which is the total balance.
That's a $150 shut-off fee, $360-some for the last
No, I'm just
bill.
saying, you say, listen to me, Miss Allen, you say he owes you $2,008 for the phone bill. The last bill that I have here is $802.15.
I've been paying the bill.
Are you telling me because you made some payments?
I made a lot of payments, yeah.
How many payments did you make on this phone bill?
We made one of $250 and one of $100, and then some minor ones in between that. But those were all without seeing anything but the first bill.
Who lives in Lancaster?
Several people.
Your friends?
Yeah,
relatives?
I don't know how many different people.
What's Diamond Bar?
A place in Los Angeles?
Yeah.
I don't know what's down there. I don't know who exactly those numbers are.
How many children do you have?
2 and 1 on the way.
I gather from looking at these papers that your parents don't see your children anymore.
Yes, ma'am.
Why is that?
My mother has alienated most of our family. Other siblings don't speak with her, and then we go to my children. We went to Vegas one weekend. It's just numerous things. I guess my wife can explain it better than that. It was more both of our decision.
Okay, I'll hear you.
Basically, it's just that she doesn't recognize us as parents. We'll ask her not to do something, and it's constantly going over the line that's set.
Give me an example.
It started when they were planning their trip to Ohio, and she told Theo in front of my 3-year-old, they're 3 and 5, she told the 5-year-old, because that's her favorite, she's made that very clear, that he would be going on her trip with her to Ohio for like 3 weeks was the plan. This was before she ever talked to me or my husband. I came to pick them up because they had spent the night. I think my son said something like, I get to go on an airplane, and I was like, what? And they said, oh yeah, we think it's a good idea for him to come to Ohio with us for our vacation, and went on. Well, they had already said this to my kids. You don't discuss something with a 5-year-old before you make sure it's
You're
okay.
absolutely right.
And then from there, I mean, other things have happened.
Was that recently?
Yeah, she just went in
June, beginning of July was their trip,
But I
and
mean-
it was before that it was discussed.
the situation directly before they left. I mean, she told them, you know, when the fair comes, I'm going to take him on, or no, I'm going to take him to a glider ride. And we told them, no, you're not going to a glider ride. We were sitting, you know, Theo came and said, I'm going on an airplane, a glider ride. And we were like, no, that's not going to happen.
And that was
your
after.
your wife explained it much better
Yeah.
than you did. Did you say that to your 5-year-old, that you were going to take him on a trip?
We were talking about going on our trip. He said he wanted to go. He wanted to know how we were getting there, what we were going to do, and he just was planning on going. And they told him no, it worked out. They called us every day while we were on vacation. Everything was just fine.
There was the blow up about, please don't say these things to him before you talk to me or Danny and know what our answer is. Okay, the glider thing, that was for her birthday. She wanted to take a glider trip, and she wanted her grandson to be with her. Again, she told him, and that she said, because when we picked him up, that she said, I told Theo that he will be going on the glider with me for my birthday. We said, hi, we're the parents. Could you try to talk to us about these things before you discuss it with Theo? 5 minutes after that, she said, oh, fine then, I'll just take you up in a helicopter ride at the fair. Right in front of us without, again, saying anything. I think this all started, all the lawsuits and everything, after we went to Vegas. She has 5 or 6 foster kids. And it's a fun thing for the kids to go and spend the night in the tent in the backyard once in a while. Thursday night they called and asked, can Theo and Brian stay in the tent? They're going to spend the night in the tent tonight. We said, okay, sure, fine. We had already planned for them to watch the boys that weekend when we went to Vegas. I came home, my son comes home and says that he ended up spending, okay, obviously he spent Thursday with our permission, Friday, Saturday night also in the tent. I know with 6 kids, my 5-year-old was in the tent all weekend long. He didn't get sleep. He fell asleep within 10 minutes of being home. That upset me.
Just a minute. Were you in Vegas?
Yes, I was.
Did you have a good time?
Yes, I did.
If you were in Vegas and had a good time when you came home, you have 2 kids?
Yes.
Nobody was in a cast. Nobody had gone for surgery. Right? Shh. Listen.
Okay, Your Honor.
No. Believe me, been there, done that on both sides. Not very hard.
Your Honor, excuse me. Okay.
You have to respect the fact that they're the parents. You, on the other hand, have to understand that if you ask somebody to do you a favor and take care of your children so that you can go on vacation, you relinquish a certain amount of parental authority. So if she wants him to sleep in a tent, if she wants him to sleep on top of a bunk bed, then you just suck it up and say, I had a great 3 days, and the next time, if you don't like the sleeping arrangements, stay home. I guarantee you that once you have the 3rd, it's going to be very hard to get somebody to watch 3 children while you go to Vegas. 3 children being babysat for by somebody who cares for them. I don't care which one is her favorite, if she's got one. It doesn't make any difference. Who cares for them? Not a stranger. Grandparents spoil their grandchildren. It's one of the pleasures. Parents like to say, I'm in charge. Listen to me. And you're right. You're in charge. You have the right to make the big decisions. If they're going to go on a trip, and you're absolutely right. Before Grandma says, you want to come to Ohio with us, she shouldn't say anything. She should just say, we have to talk to your folks about that. And just leave it. Go on to something else. Get his mind off it. And then come and say, I'd really like to take him on a trip. Would it be all right with you? You're absolutely right. I'm not faulting you. But sometimes things happen, and you don't, just because they're grandparents, not that they're perfect. So it may not have come out just the way you thought it came out. The saddest part is you are taking away your children's right to enjoy the widest possible circle of love and affection that they can. And that's from their grandparents, as well as you.
I understand that, Your Honor.
So you shouldn't do it.
But my growing up and my family's growing up with my mother and my father has been totally twisted since we were young.
Then what'd you let him babysit for your children for?
But
No. No, you answered my question.
Because, I was still in the stage of, mommy's, it was a convenience, and Abe,
No,
mommy's
it's
still
a
there.
convenience.
Okay, and then...
So if you say your mother's twisted and your father's twisted, you wouldn't leave them alone with the 2 children that you like.
That's where we're at right now, and that's why these lawsuits came up, and I have a tape that'll show you, and I have a witness outside that'll come in here and state to you with the email she sends him one day, let me give you something, the next day I'm gonna hang your butt in court. And my witness is outside, and he's...
Not interested.
Okay.
Not interested. You had a big mouth, and somebody used the phone this much. I mean, I have a cell phone. I have a cell phone. I don't even know the number. If I have to call the police on it, if somebody is mugging me, I use it. Otherwise, I'm like a normal person. I sit down near a phone, I make a phone call. Right? If you want to sit on the phone for hours and hours and hours and hours, then you got to pay for that. And if your mother made these little loans to you, she says they're little bits of loans to you. I have a feeling some of them are loans and some of them were not. When you give a child $15, you give a child $20, and you keep doing it over the course of time, then you don't say, well, it was really a loan. And you don't loan your child $15. Did you ever loan your child $15?
Your Honor?
I've never loaned my children anything.
Right. So,
Right.
right. Well, that's true. And I can understand you saying to your daughter-in-law at some point, you worry about it when he gets out of jail because you felt maybe a little bit guilty, a little bit responsible for the children, for their welfare if he wasn't around, so you helped out a little bit. Miss Allen, that's what parents do.
Right.
The saddest thing that I find here is that you're not seeing your grandchildren. And that's the wrong thing to happen.
She won't.
It's not just the two things that we've mentioned. As long as you do everything that she wants you to do or she's happy, then everything's fine. Just like, I mean, we've been in many arguments. The phone's okay until we get in an argument, then she mentions it. We say we want to see the bill. It doesn't happen. And then we get over the argument and everything's fine for a little while.
We've offered her the phone back as
Do
soon as
you
we offer it
understand
back.
But when it's a big blow up,
Do you understand why you're here, though?
The cell phone.
No.
We could be here because we filed for a restraining order.
You're here because she can't see her grandchildren. That's why you're here. That's the only reason that you're here is because you say this 5-year-old is her favorite.
But it's a pattern. She's also got a lawsuit against our brother-in-law, and
She's
she can't,
suing everybody.
It's not
Your
about
Honor,
not seeing that
They
grandchild.
both filed for restraining orders against me, which neither one of them showed up for in court after I paid an attorney. They owe me $500 for lawyer fees.
Listen, I just said to your son and daughter-in-law that the reason you were here and the reason you were angry is because you weren't seeing your grandchildren. That doesn't mean that I don't find that they owe you some money. I think that they do owe you some money. But I also think that you have to grow up a little bit. And if you want to avail yourself of babysitting services, and if they use Huggies instead of Pampers, and if they don't give them a tubby every night like you would, you just have to blink your eyes and say it's part of the price you pay for going away on vacation.
I understand.
That's it. So if you can come to terms with each other, fine. And if what you're doing is being very angry with each other, then I can't do anything about that. And then, anyway, you owe him $2,200. That includes some of the phone bills, some of the loans. I wish I got smarter and started keeping track of what my kids owe me. Thank you.
Speed his car in the post office parking lot.
Order. All rise. Quiet in the courtroom, please. Quiet in the courtroom, ma'am. Judge, this is case number 290 on the calendar in the matter of Gigliotti versus Kemp. Parties have been sworn in, Your Honor. You may be seated. Have a seat.
Mr. Gigliotti, you were going to the post office.
Yes, Your Honor.
You were driving.
Yes, Your Honor.
According to your complaint, you got to the post office and looking for a place to park, and all the parking spots were taken.
It was about 10:40 in the morning. I drove into the parking lot. I noticed there was no spaces available. I looked over the parking space for the handicapped, and there was a car there, and I noticed that it had Louisiana license plates that were not handicap provided. I also looked at the front mirror to see if there was a placard there.
So you got out of your car?
Yes, I did. And then I went back to my car and took out a Polaroid camera, and I took a picture of the car and my car as it was seated in the parking space for the handicapped, and then I wrote down the license plate number. And I also noticed when I was around front that it had a Navy parking sticker on it. So I copied down the number of that also.
Okay. So far, what you were doing is you were outraged that somebody parked in the handicapped parking spot.
Exactly, Your Honor.
Okay, so then what did you do?
Well, as I was writing down the license plate number from the car that was parked there, it was a black Plymouth, a woman came out of the post office, and she started yelling and screaming and waving her arms. She was waving her arms like this. And she said, you move that car, I'll move you.
What do you mean? I don't understand. Why did you have to move your car?
I had pulled in behind the car that was in the parking space in order to get out of the driveway, because the driveway was right next to that parking space. I pulled in behind it.
So you blocked the car?
Yes.
Now, when you looked inside the car, did you see anybody in the car?
I didn't notice anybody at that time, Your Honor.
Okay, so you had now blocked the car, and the woman came out and said, you better move the car.
Yes.
What did you do?
She was yelling and screaming, and I was absolutely certain that she was going to cause some violence. So I walked away from her and walked into the post office and called the police.
Why didn't you just get into your car and move your car?
I didn't think I had that much time. She was coming at me rather fast, rather loud.
Order.
Yeah, go ahead.
And while I was waiting in the post office, Miss Corbett, who was going to be the witness, came in and said, "Is that your car with the handicap placard in the parking lot?" And I said, "Yes, it was." And she said, "That woman just keyed your car." And I went out to the parking lot to see if I could see where she had keyed the car, but she was still walking up and down between the two cars, yelling and screaming and throwing her arms around. So I didn't go out there. I just waited until the police came. And when the police came, I did go out and I inspected the car, and it had been keyed, the entire driver's side.
You do have handicap plates on your car?
I do.
Why is that, sir?
Because I have a back injury that limits my ability to walk.
How long have you had that back injury?
2.5 years.
And how long have you had the handicap plates?
About 1.5 years.
Mm-hmm. Step up, please.
Yes.
Can you tell me your name?
Yes, I'm Janice Corbett.
Miss Corbett, I assume you worked in the post office. You're the postal worker.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you see this lady key his car?
I saw this lady do a keying motion to his car.
Describe what you saw.
I saw her talking with another woman and some children, and she had her keys in her hand. She was frustrated. Then she went to the side of his car, and her arm turned. I could not actually see the key in her hand at this moment, but her arm was turned so I could see this part, and she walked stiff-armed alongside the car.
Okay. Ms. Kemp?
Yes.
According to your complaint, and you have a countersuit against the plaintiff for unlawful imprisonment of both you and your children, who you say were in the car.
Yes.
How many children did you have in the car?
3.
How old are they?
At the time, the twins were 4 months old, and Nicholas was 5 years old.
What were you doing at the post office?
I went to the post office that morning to mail a few letters and to purchase stamps. I did pull in to a handicapped spot. Yes, I know that was wrong, but thinking that I would be in there 2 to 3 minutes, I knew I would be right back out. I just didn't think there would be a problem. So, and I was in a hurry because I went there before I brought Nicholas to school. So we went into the post office, my kids and I did what I had to do. I stopped at the front counter to make out some things on the...
How are you holding the twins?
They were in a stroller.
So you actually took them out of the car and put the twins in the stroller?
Yes.
And Nicholas was with you?
Yes.
Right?
Yes. And we went into the post office. Like I said, on the way out, I stopped at the desk to put the stamps on and all. So I did that. We went back to the car. He said I was waving my arms. I didn't even recognize him because I was in such a hurry to get Nicholas to school. But I got in the car. As I looked back to see if my pathway was clear, then I realized he was parked behind me. So that parking lot is really small. So I thought maybe he was just trying to maneuver his way out of it. He didn't move. So I just sat there and waited a second because I didn't really know what he was doing. So he didn't move. I saw him come out of his trunk with a camera. So he started to take pictures. And so I didn't think anything. And then I looked up and there was his handicap. I said, okay, I know what he's doing and I know what I did. So I got out. And I was not enraged because I knew I was wrong. I became upset when he said he was not going to move. So I waited until he was done with it because I thought that would be the end of it. He's taking pictures. This is his evidence. They'll give me a ticket. That was not the end of it. So he went into the front part of his car to do what I don't know. So that's when I took a step to the back of my car and I asked him, would he then move? He said there was no way in hell he was going to move. And he was the person that was yelling. I was not yet upset because I wasn't quite sure what his intentions were yet.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
When she came out, she was so violent that I was absolutely certain it was going to get into fisticuffs.
I don't believe you, sir. I
She's
don't
got
believe
30
you.
years and 30 pounds on me.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Jerome Gigliotti says Monica Kemp slashed his tires and keyed his car in the post office parking lot. Monica says Jerome blocked her car so she couldn't pull out, leaving her and her children trapped.
You knew you had done something wrong.
Right.
But you knew that what he was doing, that he was gathering evidence so that he could present
Right,
it to
I
give you a
realized that
ticket.
after a while.
Okay.
And he
He told me there was no way in hell he was going to move. I then started to tell him that, you know, I had to get Nicholas to school. I informed him that I did not have any more formula for my kids because I didn't bring any because I was intending a quick trip to the post office and to school.
I assume you were pretty hot at this point, Ms. Kemp. I assume you were.
I was not angry yet because I thought once I told him that, he would move. And I offered him other information of mine. I told him he could have my driver's license number. I did notice when he came to the front of the car, he was copying down my military information. I asked him, didn't he have enough information? He was ignoring me. When I offered more information, he ignored me. And at this point, when he started to walk off, I was like, I don't believe this. You are going to let us out, aren't you? And he just walked off. And so there was another woman who came up and she just started to ask me what was the problem and are you okay, because by this point I had become extremely emotional because it's like, okay, this man is not going to move and my kids are in the car and it's hot and they were starting to cry and I was just really upset. I was scared. So she tried to calm me down. She went in the post office and she asked him to move. And
did somebody else come into the post office and ask you to move, sir?
Yes, Your Honor.
Why didn't you?
I told her I wasn't going to go out there so long as that other woman, Miss Kemp, was out there.
All they wanted you to do was move the car.
You did not see the condition that she was. She was yelling and screaming, waving her arms, and there was no way I was going to get into a fight with her.
What was I going to do, throw a baby at you?
Just a second.
I had a baby in my arm.
You know that all she wanted you to do was to move your car. She wasn't going to get into a fight with you because if she got into a fight with you, she couldn't get her kids in her car out. Come on, sir. Let's be honest with each other. You were very angry that someone had parked in the handicapped spot that was really reserved for you. Now, I can understand that. I can really understand that. There's nothing to suggest that you did anything wrong in taking down the license plate number, copying down the Navy information, taking a photograph of her parking in that spot. I'm telling you now, I do have a problem with you blocking her car, especially when you knew that there were children with her, twins, under 6 months old, and her son. I do. I mean, you came into court today not in a wheelchair, sir. You didn't come in a wheelchair and you didn't come in a stretcher. So I don't know how come it is that you got a handicapped parking placard. I have difficulty walking too sometimes. Nobody's going to give me a handicapped parking placard. Right? Even a bird here sometimes gets tired, right, Bird? So, can't get a holier-than-thou approach to life, sir, and look at everything reasonably. I mean, this is a situation that was a fast-paced situation, but try to have a little understanding. She was prepared to get a ticket. You could have seen to it that she got a ticket, but you went a little overboard. Now, that doesn't excuse the fact that you keyed his car.
I did not key his car.
Somebody keyed his car. Let me see the pictures of your car. Come on, Miss Kemp. So far, you've been very honest with me. So far, I believe you've been very honest with me.
I have been.
That's right. Let's see, Roxas. Yeah. And aside from the scratch marks on your car, you also had a blown tire, is that right?
No, Your Honor, it wasn't blown, it was
What was it?
slashed. I have a cast of the tire here that shows it's a very neat cut. And when I took it into the tire repair place, they said they couldn't patch it and that it had gone about 1/2 inch into the tire. And it's a very narrow cut, so you can see there was a cut and it wasn't road damage.
If it was cut, you must have cut it, because I didn't.
Let me take a look at that, please. Well, it's kind of hard to slash a tire with a key.
May I say something?
Sure.
I would like to know if his tire was slashed, how did he back out to let me out? How did he get out?
I just said to you, I don't think he can establish through any witness that he has today that you did anything to the tire of his car. That's not what this witness said. Miss Kemp, look at me, dear.
I'm looking.
Keying his car. Say, Miss Kemp, I'm not suggesting to you that the situation didn't enrage you. You had a right to be enraged.
I know.
I believe you had a right to be enraged. What you did was a violation. Sir, what she was engaged in was a violation. I find it disingenuous on your part to suggest that you feared for your life, and when you called the police, you said that a woman had just assaulted you, because that's what you wrote in your complaint. This woman never assaulted you. If she came out swinging her arms and being very agitated because her car was blocked, that is not an assault.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
What kind of work do you do?
I'm an attorney, Your Honor.
You must have a very slow practice.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Jerome Gigliotti says Monica Kemp did damage to his car at the post office. Monica denies she did anything wrong and says Jerome overreacted by blocking her car for 2 hours.
Let me explain something to you, sir.
You need help.
What you found was a violation. No different from finding somebody parked in front of a fire hydrant. Same kind of violation. The action that you took was not in direct proportion to the violation that you observed. Once, sir, you observed this lady and her children. She had 3 little kids. Wisdom would have been the better part of your action, and if you would have said, I now have the proof to take to the police, this is her car, this is this, she is going to get a ticket for parking in a handicapped spot, which was clearly wrong, you and I would have had no problem. And if she vandalized your car, which I believe that you did, Ms. Kemp.
I see that, but I didn't.
Yes, you did. Your action was not responsive to what you saw, sir. You did not exercise good, mature judgment. Good, mature judgment would have meant once you saw what she had in the car, which were 3 small children, you pulled the car out, let her leave, report it to the police, go to the Army barracks, do whatever you wanted to do in order to see to it that she had to pay an appropriate fine. It would have aggravated her enough to have paid a fine. What you chose to do was to create and incite a situation by blocking her car. That was dumb, stupid, and I guarantee you, if she had been 6'4" and a man walking out of that post office, you would not have blocked the car. No question in my mind, you would not have blocked that car. So,
Your Honor,
I have
I
a
didn't intend to block her car.
Well, you
I
did.
intended to take down the information.
You
When
did.
she came out, she was so violent that I was absolutely certain it was going to get into fisticuffs.
I don't believe you, sir. I
She's
don't
got
believe
30
you.
years and 30 pounds on me.
I don't believe you, sir.
30
All you had
years,
to do,
you wish.
all you had to do was
Look
get
like my
in your
great-grandfather.
car. You had already taken the pictures. Get in your car and leave. And she, with her 3 small children, was not going to assault you. And you will never convince me otherwise, sir. Never. So, you have a lawsuit, and you are suing her for $5,000 for illegally parking in a handicapped space.
Your Honor, I later found out that she lives 1 block from the post office.
And?
Just a second.
She
My
could have walked
son's
home if she wanted to. It's 1 block away.
And you
Sir
could have
Shay,
moved.
please don't respond to him.
You're right, I shouldn't.
Please don't respond to him. First of all, how did you find out she lives a block away from the post office?
I took the license plate down, and I used the DMV in New Orleans, in Louisiana and Baton Rouge, to find the registered owner. And then through the Postal Service, I obtained a forwarding address from that address to the address in San Diego.
Do you work?
Yes?
What kind of shop? What kind of work do you do?
I'm an attorney, Your Honor.
You must have a very slow practice.
Yes. That's what I think.
Because if you took the time over this nonsense that you have just told me about, you'd be far better to donate some of your time and some of your energy, sir, to the poor. I was sympathetic to you up to a point. There isn't a soul who drives a car that isn't infuriated when they are driving around and around and around and looking for a parking space and see somebody who has abused their parking privilege and parked in a handicapped spot. Not a soul who's driven a car who hasn't had that kind of frustration. You took it a step too far, and she has a cross complaint against you for $5,000 for unlawful imprisonment for a period of well over 20 minutes. Is that what it was?
No.
How long?
It was like 3 hours.
Until, from the time he blocked your car until the time the police came, how much time elapsed?
From the time he blocked me until the time the first set of police arrived?
How many sets of police arrived?
They had to call someone else to make him move because he, and that's on my cross complaint also, about the intentional infliction of emotional distress. This is when my son became emotional because he would still not move. They had to call someone else to make him move.
Why wouldn't you move when the first set of...
He wanted me arrested.
Why wouldn't you move when the first set of police came?
The first set of police never asked me to move my car.
I heard him.
Well, you were no longer in fear.
That's true.
Just a second. You were no longer in fear, sir, because you now had police officers around. Why didn't you just move your car?
Because they didn't tell me to. All they wanted to do was talk to me.
He's lying.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
I believe you keyed his car, right? Let him fix it. I believe that your children suffered during that period of time. And I assume you'll never park in a parking space
I haven't even been
again.
back to that place.
Never. Your complaint is dismissed, and your countersuit is dismissed.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
She started coming at me with the obvious intent to hit me. She was swinging her arms, and what she said was, "You move your car or I'll move you." And I'm sure that she had the intent of moving me physically.
And with my children in stroller in hand, I would like to propose to you, how would I have done that? Did I just let them roll when I came at you like this? Did I do that?
She didn't have any children with her when she was coming at me.
Okay, that's a lie also. And when I found out he was a lawyer, I knew he absolutely had no business. He had no clients, because if he had, he'd have been there helping them. He's bored. But my keys were inside the ignition, because when he wouldn't move, I turned the car on to give my kids some air. So I couldn't have keyed his car because I had no keys in my hand. I just wanted her to let him know that he's wrong. So the fact that I lost matters not. I'm just glad he lost.
Girlfriend Sandy Gentry, 23, falsely led him to believe that he was the father of her child. When he discovered he was not the father, he filed a $5,000 suit claiming emotional distress.
Order. All rise. Yeah, it's case number 261 on the calendar in the matter of Sandoval versus Gentry. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Have a seat, please.
Mr. Sandoval, according to your papers, sir, you and the defendant dated briefly and were romantically involved, were sexually intimate.
Yes.
And there came a time when you broke up.
Yes.
And during that time, you were pregnant, had a baby. Is that right?
Yes.
And you called him and told him that you would have the baby.
Yes. Yeah.
And invited him to come over to see the baby.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember what you said to him?
Yes, when we were at my house, I had told him that I had been with another person, but I was pretty sure that he had been the father because I had used a condom with the other guy that I was with. So I let him know straight up that I had been with another guy. So.
Did she tell you that, sir?
No.
Hmm? She never told you that?
No, she did not.
That doesn't make sense, madam, that you would tell him that when you invite him over to see the baby and say, listen, this could be yours and it couldn't be yours. In any event, she told you that the baby was yours?
That's correct.
And at that time, according to these papers, you weren't living close to each other.
That's correct.
Where were you living, sir?
I was living in Stockton with my mother.
And where were you living?
I was living in Hayward with my parents.
And how far is that away?
About 50 miles.
And you moved?
Yes, I moved to be near the child.
Did you take an apartment?
I rented a house with my friend.
And you were visiting the baby?
Yes.
How often?
About at least 3 times a week.
Would you go over to her parents' house?
Yes, I would.
Is that right?
I did.
A couple times, yes.
So he would come over and visit with the baby. Were you present when he visited with the baby?
Yes.
Did you hold the baby?
Yes, I did.
Did you feed the baby?
Yes, I did.
Did he?
Yes.
Did you take the baby out?
Yes, I did. Sometimes with her, sometimes away from her.
And for how long did this go on?
From the time she was about 3.5 weeks till she was about 5.5 months.
So for 5.5 months, for 5 months, you spent a lot of time with the baby.
Yes.
And then there came a time when you were called into court for child support.
No, that's not true.
What happened?
I initiated court proceedings against her because she would not give me any access to the child whatsoever.
Well, what happened that stopped this free flow of visitation that you had?
We began having problems arguing over money and things because she didn't think that I was trying hard enough to look for work.
So you were arguing over something?
Yes.
Did there come a time when you told him that he wasn't to see the baby anymore?
Yes, he was harassing me at work. He kept calling me. I told him not to call me in case of an emergency. He called me anyway, over and over again.
What would he call you about?
What are you doing? I'm at work. I'm working, you know?
Yes.
And I said, you know, just please call me, you know, if there's an emergency, and he would call me just any time.
Well, what did that have to do with the baby?
And then he would go over the babysitter's house. You know, she asked him to call first. He wouldn't call first. He just started showing up over there. It's just, it's just a bunch of things that just came down to it. I don't...
So you told him that he couldn't see the baby anymore. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
So you went to court.
Yes, I did.
And when you went to court, you had a blood test.
Yes, and it excluded me.
And the blood test said that you could not possibly be the biological father of this child.
That's correct.
And then what happened, sir? Because that's not the only thing that you're suing her for, the fact that she misled you.
I got served papers at my aunt's house in March, on March 20th, and I received the papers by April.
And that was the state calling you into court for child support.
Correct.
Because you had listed his name as the father.
And the welfare department, they have you put down...
No, listen to me. Just answer my question.
Yes.
You had listed his name as the father.
And the other guy also. They have you put down whoever the father could be on a child support paper. And so, you know, you put down both of them and they go from there.
So you were called into court again, sir?
Yes. And I was told that they would start detaching my wages, taking my taxes. And I sent them copies of this paternity test, and, I mean, they wouldn't hear it. They said because there was 2 parties that took the test that I had to resubmit it again.
So you took the test again?
Yes, I did.
And it again excluded you?
Yes, correct.
Did you have to pay for the blood test?
The second one, no, I did not.
Did you have to pay for the first one?
Yes, I did.
How much did you have to pay for the first one?
I believe it was $440.
Did you have to pay for a lawyer?
No, I represented myself completely.
Did you have any other expenses, sir, as a result of this proceeding? Out-of-pocket expenses?
Out of my pocket?
Yes.
Court fees?
How much were the court fees?
$370.
Anything else?
No.
Now, for my own information, Miss Gentry, what happened when they blood tested the other man who you claimed that you named?
They're still trying to find him.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
So as painful as it is right now to you, taught you a very good lesson. You want to fool around? Cover up.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 25-year-old Rich Sandoval says when a court-ordered paternity test proved he was not the father of Sandy Gentry's baby, he sued for emotional stress. Sandy says she made an honest mistake and is being harassed by Mr. Sandoval.
You working now?
No, I'm not.
Why not?
I'm trying to establish where I'm living and, you know, I'm trying to get a job, yes.
Where were you working before?
Just odd jobs through a temp agency.
So why did you stop working?
Because I just couldn't handle it anymore. I couldn't handle him. He came to my work, or someone came to my work, and I just couldn't take the harassment anymore.
What harassment?
From him. And I just couldn't take it anymore. What was going on?
Well, explain to me what was going on, Miss Gentry. I don't understand what was going on.
Well, it's just he would harass me, and he would...
That's a conclusion. How did he harass you?
He would call me, he would threaten me.
How did he threaten you?
He threatened me and my friend over the phone.
What did he say, madam?
That he was, if I didn't watch out, I was going to be shot, things like that. I don't...
Did you ever say that to her? You know, the problem, Miss Gentry, is when a court gets the impression that somebody's a liar, they question everything that they say. Now, you told this man that he was the father of this child. He believed you.
I did tell him that there was another guy, that there was a possibility that the other guy might have been the father, but...
I don't believe that. It doesn't strike me as being accurate, madam, that you gave him any suggestion whatsoever that this was not his child, because if you did, it is unlikely that he would have left his mother's house and moved to be closer to the baby, that he would have gone over and spent days with this baby, bonding with this baby, feeding her according to you, holding her, taking her out, taking her to... You're his mother?
Yes.
Did he used to bring the baby to your house?
Yes.
Visiting a grandmother, getting this whole family involved with this baby? If you had said to him, listen, there's a chance the baby's not yours, doesn't make sense. That's why I think you're a liar. And I think you're a liar when you say that he threatened to shoot you. And I do. I do.
I have my witness right here.
Oh, yes, step up.
Yeah.
Step up. Let me hear your witness. Who are you?
I'm Gina.
Gina what?
Gina Ito.
How do you know her?
My brother is dating her. And
your brother's dating her?
Uh-huh.
Another genius.
Through the times that she moved out of her mother's house and was living with me for a while.
What was she living with you for?
To get back on her feet.
Well, was she dating your brother at the time?
Uh-huh.
What do you want to tell me about these threats, madam? You have anything to tell me firsthand?
For threats, yeah, he has called. He said, you better watch your back. I will get you.
Okay. And under what circumstance did he say that to you?
He called up.
Called up for what?
For no reason. Harassing. He called up for no reason.
Was his child living in your house?
Yes, she was.
Sit down. Listen, Mr. Sandoval.
Yes.
When you had sexual relations with this lady, did you use protection?
No, I didn't.
Dumb.
I know.
Very dumb. You almost deserve what you get if you don't use protection. You know?
True.
What you got was a story that you had a child, but you could have gotten was a lot worse.
That's correct.
Right?
Yes.
And I think she's as manipulative as can be, because she let you see the baby, then she stopped you from seeing the baby, she found a new boyfriend, she moved out of her mother's house, her mother probably was fed up with her, she moved into the sister's house of the boyfriend. Sounds to me as if your baby's going to need a lot of luck. Baby's got a father who's off someplace else. We don't know who he is right now. We're in the third relationship that I know about. Him, the one who's in the wind, who maybe is the father, and this new boyfriend. So what are you suing for, sir?
I'm suing for loss of wages from when I left in February up until present time now.
Now listen.
The cost that it took me to relocate from my mother's house to move down there to be near this child.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
What you're saying does not sound logical. And if it doesn't sound logical, to me, it didn't happen.
And later today,
there are blue chip stocks to invest in if you want to invest your money. Rave parties are not smart. Got it?
real cases, real people. Judge Judy.
You're suing her for a lot of money. You want $5,000 in damages. And I don't think that there's probably any way that you're going to get $5,000, but I think she certainly has to pay you for every bit of out-of-pocket expenses that you have, plus something for punitive damages, because I think that she caused you a great deal of heartache.
Yes, she did.
You shaking your head no?
I'm just... Huh? I just don't understand why you don't believe that I didn't tell him that.
Why don't I believe it? It's not logical. You used him for the first few months until you found somebody else. And then when you found somebody else, that's her brother, then you decided to cut him off. And when you decided to cut him off because you were too busy with another social event in your life. Then he started to call, and he wanted to see the baby. You were cutting him off, so he was forced at that point to go to the family court to establish his parental rights and establish visitation. That all sounds very, very logical, and what you're saying, it does not sound logical. And if it doesn't sound logical, to me, it didn't happen. The truth of the matter is, Mr. Sandoval, it was a good thing that she stopped you from seeing the baby, because you could have gone on for 5 years.
That's correct.
Been paying all kinds of child support, allowed to further bond with this baby, and you would never have known that she wasn't yours. You could have gone on for 20 years, and all of a sudden you needed a blood transfusion. You take her blood, and they say to you, sorry, this baby that you've loved for 20 years really isn't yours. So as painful as it is right now to you, it was only 5 months' worth of pain at your age, and taught you a very good lesson. You want to fool around? Cover up. Judgment in this case is for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,000. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Out the back door to your right, please.
I guess he just wants money. I don't know what he wants.
No, justice. There's a difference.
Whatever.
And now the next case.
All parties on Light versus Betts. Step forward, please.
Nancy Light is suing Ann Betts on behalf of her 2 children, 17-year-old Alexis and 15-year-old Aaron. Alexis and Aaron claim they invested $600 in a rave dance concert. They say they got ripped off and want their money back.
Who is Alexis?
That'd be me.
And you are how old?
I'm 17.
You're her mom?
Yeah.
And her brother?
Yeah.
Why don't the two of you sit down for a moment and just leave Alexis right here? All right. According to these papers, you were planning a rave party. Is that pronounced correctly?
Yes, ma'am.
You're going to tell me what that is in a minute. And the plaintiff invested $600 in this party, and she received for her $600, $250 at the party's conclusion. She's suing you for the rest. Is that right?
Correct.
So who's going to tell me first what a rave party is?
It's an all-ages, non-alcoholic dance event. It's music that usually we bring lighting and sound in, and goes from 8 p.m. until 6 or 7 a.m. Spend anywhere from $10,000 to $20,000 on a party, and it's to provide like all ages of children with things to do, kids and adults. And it's not a club scene; it's not an alcoholic thing.
Is that what you do for a living? Plan these parties?
No, it's just an extra thing that I do.
Okay. What prompted you to solicit funds from somebody who was a minor?
She wanted to invest in the party.
How did you know her?
She comes to parties.
Is that what happened?
We were friends. We were somewhat close friends going into this, and I guess March before the party, she asked my brother and I, actually my brother first, if he would like to invest, which was more like a loan, not really an investment. It was a loan that we would be getting paid back, because she knew that my mom was weary about letting us loan her this money because it's a large investment.
And according to your answer, at least, your defense to this lawsuit is twofold, right? You say, one, the party didn't make enough money, and second, because she's a minor, you couldn't enter into a valid contract with her.
We didn't have anything in writing. It was an investment, and when you make money, you make. When you lose, you lose. It's
I
a
have
gamble.
a written statement here from Ann that was given to me the night after the party. I don't know, do you want to see this, or do you want me to read it to you, what it says?
Is that something you wrote to her?
Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
Well, read me the pertinent part.
It will only take a few weeks of busting overtime and work and living clean, and you'll have my word. You'll have my word that I will have your money back ASAP. I am only sorry things didn't work out any easier. I will pay every penny back plus some interest. Thank you so much for your help and participation. Sincerely, Ann.
Sound familiar?
Yes.
So what happened?
Well, the other guy who was involved in the party stole about $3,000 from the party, and I was forced to pay back all the investment, which was like, he didn't pay any of it back, and I've paid all of it back but about $200. And since this has been written, I only owe them $200 now. There's another $150 that, of course, wasn't receipted, but she knows that I gave it to her after her last event.
Yes, she did.
So that all she owes you now is $200?
Yeah.
All right.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
Miss Betts, I wanted to find out what this rave party was, and I wanted to find out what your story was. Bottom line is, your second premise in defense of this lawsuit is wholly 100% incorrect under the law. When you enter into a contract with a minor, you do so at your own peril. You knew she was a minor, that she is incapable of entering into a valid contract, whether it be an investment or a loan. Therefore, anyone who enters into a contract with a minor, there is no contract. That money has to be paid back to her, because dealing with her, even though she's pretty smart, pretty savvy, and she sounds like she doesn't take any baloney from anybody, it's no different dealing with her than it would be dealing with someone who was 8 years old in the eyes of the law. So you couldn't go over to somebody, an 8-year-old who was running a lemonade stand on the corner and say, would you like to invest $25 in my rave party? You can't do that. So you owe her the $200. Be smart. You have to learn something before you involve yourself in business.
Well, yeah. I trusted her, though, and that's
It's not a
just
question of trust. It's a question of knowing what you know. At your age, you don't know a lot. Right?
Right.
You don't know a lot. You don't know a lot about business. You don't know a lot about people. Your mother probably does. But you don't.
She knows a lot.
That's why the law protects children from sometimes unscrupulous people who prey on young children to take their money out of their savings account, to take their money out of their piggy bank, to take their money out of their college fund, and invest in all kinds of harebrained schemes. There are blue chip stocks to invest in if you want to invest your money. Rave parties are not smart. Got it? Judgment in this case is for the plaintiff in the amount of $200. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
There was some drama and some scandal and some fighting going on, but now hopefully after this we can all kind of make amends and go about our lives.
They're not going to give her any more money.
Because she wants him as her boyfriend.
Order. All rise. Yeah, this is case number 369 on the calendar in the matter of Thomason versus Herzog. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Have seats.
Ms. Thomason, this defendant, according to you, lived in your home. And when he left, he owed you money for rent, utilities, etc.
That's correct.
Do you have a two-family home, or was he living in your apartment?
I rent a large home, and he was the first roommate that I advertised for after my long-term roommate died of cancer a year ago.
So he lived in a home that you rented?
Correct.
So he had his own room?
Yes.
Own bath?
Yes.
And kitchen privileges, is that right?
That's correct, Your Honor.
Okay. So tell me about the rental agreement.
He answered the I'm the recycler, and we agreed on $600 a month plus 1/4 of the utilities.
Is that correct, sir?
No, it isn't, Your Honor.
Well, let's start. Did you answer an ad?
Yes, I did.
And you went to her home?
That's correct.
And what agreement did you come to?
Basically, as far as the rental agreement concerned, the rent was going to be $450 per month, and I also gave a $250 deposit at that time.
So you say the rent was $450, and you say it was $600. What about the utilities, sir?
The utilities were going to be fairly split.
Fairly split is not an arrangement, sir. Fairly split sounds ridiculous when you're talking between two strangers. Were you supposed to pay half the utilities, a quarter of the utilities? What were you supposed to pay?
Basically, there was no straight agreement or arrangement on that. It was going to be split between, there was Marilyn and her 2 sons, plus her boyfriend also living there at the time.
What month did you move in?
I moved in the 1st of March.
Of this year?
That's correct.
And how many months did you live there?
I lived there for 6 months, Your Honor.
And how many months' rent did you pay?
I paid 2 months' rent, and at that time I had given notice of to vacate the day following.
So you paid for 2 months?
And the utilities, correct.
And you lived there for 6 months?
That's correct.
And you lived there March and April? And then you said you were leaving.
That's correct, Your Honor.
But you didn't leave.
But I did not leave.
And you stayed on for an additional 4 months and paid nothing. Why not?
At the time of notice of vacation, to vacate the premises, she had given me, which I have documented, written notices and a note from her stating that it would be okay for me to stay there as long as I want, for free, under no obligation to pay for rent or utilities.
Let me see the note.
Basically what I have and like to present to you
Don't
at
tell me
this time.
basically, just show me the note.
If I can present this to you, Your Honor.
Just the note. Show it to her, Bird, would you please?
That's one of several notes. I had a little trouble communicating with him, so I wrote notes.
I just want to see what it says here. Why did you give her notice that you were leaving, sir?
It was a very uncomfortable situation for me from the very beginning. I just felt it was appropriate for me to leave. I just, it was just an unbearable situation in the house.
So, okay. Tell me why it was an unbearable situation.
Basically, the first and foremost reason was the harassment that I've been receiving from her to somehow come into a physical relationship with her.
You mean from the time you moved in?
That's correct.
March and April?
That's correct.
And it was unbearable?
It was somewhat uncomfortable. It was something uncomfortable and unbearable, yes, Your Honor.
So you stayed on, you moved in March, you stayed in April. And after this unbearable situation, you stayed May, June, July, and August for another 4 months.
That's correct, Your Honor.
Why?
Basically, she had, you know, we had spoken and she had agreed that she was going to try to basically stop some of the inappropriate comments that she had made. I also have a note stating to my mother that she had made sexually indiscreet comments and harassing comments.
Like what?
She would say, you know, she'd note to her friends, "This is my little houseboy, lives here, isn't he cute?" She would tell her friends to come over when I was around. You know, she'd say things like, you know, it'd be great if you know, you wouldn't wear a shirt around the house. You have such a great body. Just a lot of small remarks like that. I mean, there's some photos.
Slowly she turned.
There's some photos here that I have.
Mr. Herzog.
Yes.
If a big guy like you doesn't like the heat, then you get out of the kitchen. Sounds to me as if she's making these overtures to you that you don't like, you pack your bag and you leave. If a situation is unbearable, that's what it means, unbearable. So you leave. You didn't leave, you sponged.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
Your beauty is going to go one day, sir. I know you must think you're a very handsome man and you can get away with murder. But anybody who can twist the truth, like you can, is not good looking in my eyes.
And later today,
I'm not a criminal. This is the first thing I've ever been in trouble for in my life. This has taken up way too much of my time already.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Attorney Marilyn Thomason is suing Bruno Herzog for unpaid rent and utilities. Bruno is countersuing Marilyn for sexual harassment.
Show me the rent receipts for May, June, July, and August. Show me your canceled checks to her in the amount of, let's say, your amount, $450 a month.
Okay, excuse me, Your Honor. Basically, the two things that I have here is I have, in the lawsuit, it states from the plaintiff that she states that there is a written agreement. In fact, she refused to ever provide me with a rental agreement.
Mr. Herzog, what word that I just said didn't you understand? Show me the rent receipts from May, June, July, and August.
That's also part of the situation that I have here is that in the beginning, there was cash paid to her. I had asked for receipts on that on several occasions. That was refused to me. I felt that she said to me this was for...
so is what you're telling me, Mr. Herzog, that you paid her in cash
That's correct.
and you didn't get a receipt?
That's correct, Your Honor, and I had asked for that
You are
time
one
and time
lying
again.
sucker. You just told me no more than 5 minutes ago that you didn't pay her anything for those 4 months. And now you say you paid her, but you paid her in cash?
Yes, Your Honor, and I also have a statement from her in a response.
You just told me you didn't pay her for 4 months. And you told me the reason you didn't pay her for 4 months is because she volunteered for you to stay there for free.
That was
What is it? Did you pay her or did you not?
Your Honor, I paid her for the March and April rent.
That's not what I asked you, sir. I said, show me the receipts for May, June, July, and August.
I have no receipts for those, Your Honor.
Because you didn't pay her for those months.
That's correct.
Right. So you owe her for those months. Because if something is so unbearable that you can't live there because you don't like the fact that she is making these suggestive statements to you, you're a big boy whose feet aren't planted in cement, you pick yourself up and you leave.
Well, Your Honor, through conversation with her, I felt that this problem would be resolved. She is an attorney, and I felt that she would understand as far as the relationship goes as a roommate, and there was going to be no physical or relationship
So
ever
did
in
it
there.
stop?
The harassment?
Did it stop?
It did stop for some time, Your Honor.
For how much time, sir?
It would be hard to say. I mean, there was comments made left and right, but maybe for the first month after that, it seemed to be, she seemed to work on it.
Mr. Herzog, what do you do for a living, sir?
I am self-employed. I own a business.
What kind of business do you own, sir?
It's a manufacturing business.
What kind of manufacturing?
We manufacture snowboards.
Snowboards. Mr. Herzog, did you ever hear the expression, beauty fades, dumb is forever?
Yes, I have.
Your beauty is going to go one day, sir. I know you must think you're a very handsome man and you can get away with murder, but I'm telling you, I do not find you particularly attractive. Maybe it's because I'm too old. I don't think so. But anybody who can twist the truth like you can is not good looking in my eyes. Now, if this lady had a thing for you, I don't know, maybe she's desperate. Who knows? In any event, you can't stand there as a man and tell me that you were so offended by the way your landlord was treating you, you stayed on for 4 months but didn't pay her any rent. You want to say something?
If I may.
About what?
About the sexual harassments that
Who are you?
I am Heidi Britton.
How do you know him?
He is my brother.
Where do you live?
I live in Laguna Beach.
Why didn't he live with you?
Because I'm an opera singer and I travel around the world.
Wonderful. So you must have an apartment that's free a lot.
No.
That's vacant a lot.
No, I have a husband.
Well, if the situation with your brother, madam, was so unbearable in his residence, and you, as his sister, who clearly cares about him, did not say, while it's so unbearable there, living with this lady and her 2 children, come and live with me, you're not much of a sister. Now you tell me whatever you want to tell me.
First day I met Marilyn, she had made comments about what a good-looking body, what, does he have a girlfriend? Is there anything that you can do to help me, I'm interested in basically, and I'd like to have a relationship with him.
So?
I told him no, that he had been seeing someone and that was inappropriate. I thought, he's my brother, I don't know you, I'm not going to divulge information or share information, which if he wanted you to know something, he would tell you something.
So what?
On other occasions, she had said to me, I really want Bruno to stay here. I'd like to be involved with him. I was out in the yard with his cats, with Bruno. She said, I'll pay him to stay here. I really like Bruno. I'd like, he'd be a...
So did you think that that was all very sick?
I thought that was very, very sick.
Very sick.
In fact, I had assisted and started looking for other locations for my brother.
If you thought it was all very sick, why would you allow your brother to stay in a sick situation?
Well,
is he retarded?
No, he's not.
Is your brother retarded?
No, he's not.
Is he dim-witted?
No, he's not.
He owes her money. That's what he does.
Judge Judy is ready to rule, and later today...
You wouldn't know the truth, Mr. Neville, if it came up and bit you in the behind.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Marilyn Thomason wants money owed for rent and utilities from her former roommate, Bruno Herzog. Mr. Herzog says Ms. Thomason harassed and assaulted him.
I'm taking his amount, madam, of $450, right? That's $1,800. And I'm not even tacking on much for utilities, another $50 for the 4 months, bringing your grand total to $2,000. Listen to me. I really have no idea whether she said what you attribute to her. Nothing sounds so lewd and lascivious to me. This is not sexual harassment in the workplace. You didn't work there. She wasn't trying to create a situation to make things unbearable for you so that you couldn't earn a living. You are clearly, at least according to your sister, of sound mind. And you had the ability and the capability to pick yourself up and move if you didn't like what was going on. You don't live there and sponge off somebody. Now, you've got a countersuit for sexual harassment. I assume that you've told me the best statements that you can think of that she said to you during the course of your tenancy that would at least touch my conscience and say that's terrible, right? And I don't find she sexually harassed you at all, sir. If she liked you and you didn't like her, the chivalrous thing to do would have been to have moved out as quickly as possible. Your counterclaim for sexual harassment is dismissed, and I am awarding the plaintiff $2,000 for your back rent and utilities. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
She had just shot some photos of me without my consent when I was in the backyard, kind of half naked, I guess you'd say, with no shirt on, for her own, I guess, private use, pleasures.
You're
Disgusting.
An old, disgruntled woman who has 2 children by 2 different fathers. Get over it. He's not going to be a father to your children.
I have many friends, and I'm dating somebody.
Batteries.
No, we got along fine. He had a great sense of humor.
And now the next case.
Parties on Haney versus Neville Neiman. Step forward, please.
37-year-old florist Sue Haney says her neighbors Jeff Newman and Craig Neville stole her bicycle and destroyed it.
Miss Haney, these 2 young men were involved in the theft of a bicycle that you owned.
Correct.
They were arrested, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Found guilty?
No.
Not if
They were arrested and convicted of receiving of stolen property.
But the stolen property was her bicycle.
Yes.
And when your bicycle was returned to you, it was returned in what condition?
Pieces.
So you're suing both of these young men for the cost of your bike, which is $202.64.
Right.
You want to tell me why you don't think that you are responsible to pay her? Let's start with you, Mr. Newman.
First of all, I paid a $200 restitution fine. I spent 2 days in jail. I almost lost my job over this, and I'm not a criminal. This is the first thing I've ever been in trouble for in my life.
So that's the reason why you don't think that you're responsible to pay her at least part of the money.
This has taken up way too much of my time already.
Now,
Shouldn't have taken it.
Please.
Order.
Please.
I didn't take it.
Please. And you are Mr. Neville?
Yes.
Mr. Neville, would you tell me why you don't think that you are responsible to pay her at least part of the money for her bicycle?
Well, first of all, I didn't steal her bike, neither did Jeff. I bought the thing from somebody off the street.
Baloney! So let's start with the first, with that's baloney.
No, it's not.
Yeah, sure it is. Sure it is. It's baloney. You just so happen to have bought a bike that was stolen from somebody off the street, and you knew one of her children or something, according to the complaint.
No,
Is that right?
I've known all of her children for years.
You knew all of her children, so it was just a coincidence that you had the bicycle and it was taken apart and dismantled so that some of you had the wheels, some of you had the mainframe of the bike. That was all just a coincidence. Am I correct, sir? Just a coincidence?
Yes.
I want you to get him a copy of my book.
I think we would have been smart enough if we'd stolen this woman's bike to have gotten rid of the parts after we'd stolen them.
Mr. Neville, thieves are always stupid. You didn't buy this bike from some unknown person, sir. And if you did, I am certain that you would have told the police the name of the person that you bought the bike from. Did you?
Mm-hmm.
Did you?
Yes, I did.
You told them the name of the person, and did they contact that person?
I don't know.
Did you tell them where they could find that person?
I didn't know where the person lived.
Well, why don't you tell me how it came about that you bought this bicycle from, let us call him John Jones? Why don't you look at me, sir, and tell me how it came about that you bought this bicycle?
I was hanging out with the guy at a party. He told me he had a bicycle.
You were hanging out with a guy at a party. Which guy?
His name was Steve.
And so Steve told you he had a bike. Is that right?
Yes.
And you bought it from him?
Yes.
Don't you feel stupid trying to tell me that story?
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
Don't you feel stupid trying to tell me that story?
No,
Don't you feel
it's the truth. I don't feel stupid telling the truth.
You wouldn't know the truth, Mr. Neville, if it came up and bit you in the behind. Each of you owes this lady $101 and 32 cents. You, sir, your excuse for not paying her is that this matter has taken up all too much of your time. Not an excuse. And your, sir, excuse that you bought this bicycle from, and I quote, Steve doesn't wash with me. You're entitled to your money, madam. You have a judgment for that amount.
Thank you very much.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Out the back door to your right, please.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
The only people who have wasted time is me and the law enforcement. If they hadn't taken the bike to begin with, no one's time would have been wasted. That's why they're not allowed at my house. They're not, you were told by me and Greg, stay away from my home, and you came back.
Because he cheated on her. Andy says since Nadine bought her own ring, he's not responsible.
Order, all rise. Your Honor, this is case number 288 on the calendar in the matter of Munoz versus Villa Pondo. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated.
Well, this is a new twist on an engagement ring case. Ms. Munoz, according to your complaint, you went shopping with this gentleman. You were becoming engaged, is that right?
Yes.
Yes.
According to you, you picked out a ring that you liked. He didn't have any money or any credit.
None whatsoever.
So you put your ring on your credit card.
Exactly.
First mistake.
Exactly. Exactly.
In addition to that, you say he charged some tires on a credit card for tires on a credit card of yours without your permission. To make a long story short, you're here, so that means you're no longer engaged.
Exactly. We are no longer engaged. We're no longer in speaking terms whatsoever.
And so tell me what you want from him.
I want him to pay half of the engagement ring that he gave me, that we both went together to go get. I have the appraisal. I also have the appraisal on the ring.
I'm not interested in the appraisal.
Okay.
I'm interested in the bill of sale.
Okay.
Where is it?
I have the bill of sale.
Can I have it, please? Okay. 26/27/94. Now, how long did this love affair last after the ring was bought?
Not long.
How long?
Till May 31st.
Well, when was the ring purchased?
February 23rd.
So...
But I had no... I'm sorry, Your Honor, but I didn't walk out of the relationship. He did. He walked out.
I assume you weren't getting along?
It wasn't going anywhere, and so, but I tried to work it out. He didn't want to, so therefore he walked out.
Well, that's probably a good idea, right?
Yes, but he left me with the bill, and I thought that because of his promise that he made, that he was going to pay for part of the ring, I expected that in return.
Now I'm going to ask you this question. Why didn't you take the ring back to the jeweler?
I did. They would not give me my money back. They asked for credit, and I said, okay, fine. I then called Mr. Villalpando and asked him, look,
I don't want you to be without anything, and I don't want to be without anything. Therefore, you get $1,500 worth of the ring, and I'll get $1,500 worth. And I did call him on that because I no longer want the ring. I told Mr. Villapando.
So why didn't you sell it?
I tried. You know how hard it is to sell a ring? I've tried for the months that went by. I've tried to sell that ring, and I can't.
Okay. Now, sir, you acknowledge, let's get rid of the tire question.
Okay.
Okay? Because I don't think that you deny that you signed her name and that you bought the tires, correct?
On the credit card for the tires, correct.
All right. And the tires were $330?
Correct.
Did you pay her back?
I paid her $315, so I owe her $15.
No,
Let me see.
My first payment was made cash, and I got 2 check duplicates. If you need to subpoena my bank records.
I don't subpoena anything, sir.
Okay.
I'm not your lawyer. I'm the judge.
Your Honor, on those checks that he gave me, that was part of the rent and the electric bills that he left me stuck with because he did not pay for anything. Everything is under my name in that apartment because Mr. Villapando, again, has no credit whatsoever. He claimed bankruptcy in the beginning of January.
Did you leave her with any bills when you left?
No, ma'am. I used to bring my checks, and she's the one that took care of the finance.
That's not true. That's not true. We did both of our finances together. We did both of them together. He couldn't write the check on the apartment because of the fact that it was not leased under his name.
Okay. Now, sir, do you have any payments that you made to her in June of '97?
The only payments I made to her, ma'am, are those 2 and the one cash payment I made before those 2.
All right, so now I understand this. Would you give this back?
Sure.
Tires. You owe her $330. Now, let's get to the ring. Tell me about the ring, because your story was an interesting one, sir.
Well, on the ring, we had an agreement, yes, that she was going to allow me to charge a ring so I can get her because of my credit pass from a divorce that pretty much ruined my credit. Anyways, I went out and I found a ring that I wanted to get her, and I took her to the store, and she pretty much made me feel about this little because the ring wasn't nice enough, big enough, and gaudy enough, and she specifically told me it had to be bigger than my ex-wife's. And I believe the ring was almost 2 carats as it was, and my ex-wife was only like 1 carat.
Your Honor.
So,
shh. Sir, listen to me.
Yes, ma'am.
Very nice ring. It's not 2 carats.
Correct.
This is not 2 carats.
Correct.
Okay. So, go ahead. So
And
you took her to the store, and you found a ring that you liked.
I found a ring. As a matter of fact, they were even having a big sale, so it was like a real good deal, everything. And she did not want it. It wasn't what she wanted and stuff like that. And to me, I felt like, you know, I'm buying it as a gift. You should appreciate what I'm getting you. And that's
So what happened? So you're at the store, and she doesn't like the ring.
She didn't like it, and so we didn't get a ring that day. And she decided she wanted to get a ring that she would like.
But you went with her again to find a ring that she liked.
Mm-hmm. Correct.
Okay.
And when she finally discovered the ring that she wanted, she asked me what I thought of it, and I told her it's up to her. And that's where it went, and she bought it and signed for it.
But you also promised that you were going to pay for half of it, or actually pay for the gift because it was a gift coming from you, considering the fact that you wanted to get engaged, Andy. You did.
Oh, my agreement, I'm sorry.
Your agreement was what?
My agreement was that I was going to pay for the ring that I was going to get her, not something that she didn't approve of or like and wanted.
No, that doesn't make sense, my friend. That doesn't make sense, my friend. Now it makes sense to you. Now it's a good story. Now I can understand that you went and found a ring, a little too small, not exactly what she wanted. She said she'd like something else. You went shopping with her again because I assume at that point you were still in love and you were planning on getting married, and at that point I assume you wanted her to be happy with the ring. That's why you went with her again. Doesn't look like anybody drags you any place where you don't want to go. And I assume that if the relationship had progressed and you married, that you would have made payments on this engagement ring that you gave her.
It probably would have came out of a joint checking account, yes.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I can't pay a $3,000 ring on my income, and I know he probably couldn't do it either, but it was something that he promised to pay, and it was a gift from him.
And later today,
I lost my best friend. I stole 2 rings from her, knowing what I was doing, and I took him to a drug dealer to pay off the debt.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 27-year-old Nadine Munoz claims her former fiancé, 27-year-old Andy Villapando, cheated on her. So she's suing to recover the money she put toward her own engagement ring.
So what you have is a very interesting scenario, Miss Munoz. The ring should go back to him because it is an engagement ring.
Okay, I don't mind him having the ring as long as he pays the account.
Now, when you made this deal with him, was he supposed to pay for the whole ring?
He was supposed to, he made a verbal promise that he was going to pay for the whole ring. But when I brought him to court, I was being very noble by paying half.
Okay. Well, this was an engagement ring. Women don't pay for their own engagement rings unless they're crazy. She doesn't sound to me like she's crazy. And my sense is that at least at the time that she purchased this ring on her credit, it was something that you intended to pay for because it was an engagement ring. That's what happens. A man buys a woman an engagement ring. The fact that she didn't like the first ring, sir, that's not an excuse. That's just a good story that you made up, that you were willing to pay for the first one but not the second one. Because that's pretty much what you're telling me. And if you weren't willing to pay for the second one, then you wouldn't have and shouldn't have gone shopping with her for a second one. You understand?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Now, this whole ring was $2,627.94. And, sir, I don't think you paid it for the tires at all. So, Mr. Munoz, you just bought yourself a beautiful engagement ring and 4 new tires for the total price of $2,957.94. Judgment for the plaintiff in that amount. That's all.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Parties are excused. You may step out. I'll be back to you right.
I wanted friendship afterwards, and I stated it strongly with him that I wanted friendship, but I didn't want to be lied to like he lied to me.
I'm sorry this all happened.
No problem.
And now the next case.
Parties on Golda versus Greer. Step forward, please.
37-year-old Laura Golder is suing her best friend of 15 years, 31-year-old Liza Greer, claiming she stole 2 rings to pay off a drug dealer.
Miss Greer, I'm going to start with you. Because, quite frankly, I don't think that the facts in this case are really in dispute. You two ladies were friends for a very long time.
15 years.
And, Miss Greer, you acknowledge that there was a period of time when you had a severe drug problem, correct?
Yes, and alcohol.
And you were indebted to a drug dealer for some money.
Correct.
How much money did you owe him?
Well, at the time I owed him about $375, give or take a few.
And you were pretty strung out.
Yes.
She was your dear friend.
Yes.
So you stole 2 rings from her.
Yes, I did.
And you gave one of the rings to the dealer.
Actually, I gave both of the rings to the dealer for collateral, and I was hoping to get him money because he was threatening my life, and he was a very dangerous man, and I was very frightened. And I was sober at the time, but that evening I relapsed from the stress, and I drank. And when I went over to my girlfriend's house where she was, we were together and consoling me, that evening I did something completely out of the ordinary, something I'm very upset about, I'm very remorseful for. I lost my best friend. I stole 2 rings from her, knowing what I was doing, and I took them to a drug dealer to pay off the debt. And when I tried to get them back, he wouldn't give them to me. And the next day I turned myself into the police, and I told them what happened and what I did.
When did you find the rings missing?
The morning that she left my apartment.
How'd you feel?
Extremely upset.
Did you try to contact her?
I contacted her mother and her sister and told them what happened, and they said call the police.
You got one of the rings back?
Yes.
The other one you did not?
Yes, correct.
What did he do, sell it or dispose of it in some way?
We don't know. He's saying he's innocent, and, we can't talk to him. I can't get the rings back, but I want to pay her back. I just said I don't have a lot.
How did you get the one ring back?
That's kind of on her part, and I'm not talking to her right now, so you need to ask.
The police have it as evidence.
But they're holding it, so that one you have. The only dispute in this case is to the value of the ring. How much did you pay for the ring?
$7,000. I have the receipts and all the appraisal and everything right here.
I'm not interested in the appraisal, just the receipt, how much you paid for it. You bought this ring at a very upscale store. And there were two pieces of fine jewelry that you bought. One was for $7,000, one is for $2,500. What were the two pieces that you bought?
The $7,000 was the ring, and the $2,500 was the earrings to go with it.
And you have the earrings?
Yes.
Just a lot of money to spend on a ring, but...
Did you notice it's a charge card? I like to live over my means. I like to have what I like.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
It was either taking your jewelry or going out and mugging somebody or getting killed herself. Because, you know, drug dealers can be, not can be, are despicable pun scum.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy.
Liza Greer admits to stealing 2 rings, but says they are worth thousands less than Laura Golder claims.
Miss Greer, I'm going to let you tell me in your own words what your defense is to this lawsuit.
Okay. Okay, I'm not saying that I don't owe her the money because I took the rings. I'm taking responsibility for it. I've done everything I can and my possible means of helping her get the ring back and going to court, turning myself in. I just feel that the designer for the ring is what I'd be paying for and not the value of the diamonds and the gold. I just feel it would be, it's just ridiculous to pay for a designer. It's not ridiculous, but it's just, I mean, $7,000 for a designer when the actual ring is only worth
Liza,
$3,000.
that's what I paid for the ring, though.
Shh. Let me tell you this. What you're suggesting is as follows. If somebody steals a Renoir, you know what that is?
Yes.
And says, well, I'm prepared to pay for the canvas and for the paint that was used, but I'm not prepared to pay $5 million for this painting. I mean, because after all this painting is a canvas and some paint. I don't have to pay for the designer Renoir after all. She went to a store that is a high-end store. I'm not even going to mention the store.
Shall I?
No. But I want to tell you something. Anybody that buys a piece of jewelry in this high-end store, what I'm telling you is you're entitled to do with your money whatever you want to do with it. But I saw a picture of the ring. It's a nice little ring. So is all
Really
of it put
nice
together
ring.
worth $7,000? Who knows? But that's what she paid for it. And you stole it. And she doesn't have it back. And she's entitled to be made whole. Because whatever it is, she's out $7,000 and she doesn't have her ring because of you.
I know.
So, I mean, the limit of my jurisdiction is $5,000. She understood that when she came to this court, right?
Yes.
You've been in treatment?
Yes. I've been sober ever since.
How long?
It's 2.5 months now.
It's not a long time.
No, but it's still longer than I had 2.5 months ago.
I know.
And I'm also on Prozac, and I've been with a psychiatrist, and it was a very sobering experience. And I'm pregnant, so it's devastating to me what I've done. And I've lost my best friend.
Doesn't sound as if this was a great year for you. Next year will be better.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Miss Golder.
Yes.
She hasn't had a good time. She brought it about by herself. She knows that. I have a feeling that she understands that. You've been a friend for a long time. I'm going to give you your $5,000. I absolutely believe that you are entitled to that. I think Miss Greer believes that you're entitled to that, too. She feels terrible. I am quite sure that when you woke up in the morning and found your jewelry missing and realized who took your jewelry, you felt devastated.
That she would do something like that to me.
Right. She was really, at that point, I honestly believe, pushed to the wall, and she didn't know what to do. It was either taking your jewelry or going out and mugging somebody or getting killed herself. Because, you know, drug dealers can be, not can be, are despicable pun scum. And they can be deadly despicable pond scum. So she was afraid. That doesn't excuse her. But if she's sober, and I believe that she is because she's been very honest with me otherwise, she probably could use all the support she can get. Well, Miss Greer, you have a responsibility now that is far beyond a responsibility to yourself.
I know.
And if you ever think of relapsing, I suggest that you take yourself a visit to a
Rehab.
local hospital.
Right.
And go into the neonatal intensive care unit and see what a baby looks like when they're born with heroin or cocaine withdrawal.
Right.
I guarantee you that that will be a more sobering experience than the one you had here. Got it?
That.
All right. Judgment in this case is for the plaintiff
Thank
in the
you.
amount of $5,000.
I'm sorry,
Thank
Laura.
Parties are excused. You can step out. I'll come back to you, right? Okay.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
I could go to jail. I mean, right now, I could go to jail. I just don't, I never thought I was that kind of a person. The one thing that I think that Judge Judy gave me back was my friend, I mean, because she wasn't even speaking to me before, to me the value of her friendship is worth more than the money itself. And I did something wrong, and this is a lesson that had to be learned.
I always forgive her. I always forgive her. Yeah.
I'm sorry, Laura.
I know.
Thank you very much for your time. Best of luck.
Thank you, Judge Judy.
Wants $5,000 from 30-year-old engineer Eric Edwards for breaching an agreement to support her in his San Diego home.
Order. All rise. Yeah, this is case number 299 on the calendar in the matter of Griffin versus Edwards. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. As I see.
Now, Miss Griffin, I'm going to be honest with you. I understand what you say in your complaint.
Right.
But I don't believe that this states a legal cause of action. You're suing him because you say that he enticed you to leave your home in one place in California and move to San Diego because he said you were going to marry.
Right. Okay.
And that didn't work out, so you want $5,000.
Actually, the $5,000 is for costs incurred by me after I left my job, my home, moved to San Diego, and then 6 days after I arrived in San Diego, he basically threw me out. I was ineligible for unemployment because I resigned my position. I had nowhere to live, and I had no source of income. So I left, I was left basically with nothing. He promised me that if things didn't work out between us, that I could still stay with him until I got on my feet in San Diego. That did not happen.
Let me hear about this conversation that you had. You met when?
I'm going to say approximately about a year ago. We were just friends for some time before we started dating.
And then you started dating, and it was a long-distance dating relationship. Is that right?
Right. It was very short.
What do you mean it was short?
It was very short, a very short courtship.
It was a long-distance dating relationship, though.
Right.
You lived in Los Angeles, and you live in San Diego. Correct?
Correct.
All right. So it was a short relationship before he asked you to come down to San Diego?
Yes.
How long?
Approximately a month to 2 months.
How old are you?
I'm 27. I'll be 27 next week.
So you know the guy a month, and he tells you what?
He says that he wants me to move to San Diego, move in with him. He wanted to marry me. This is typically something that I would never do, but unfortunately I made the mistake, or the decision to do it, believing him, and 6 days later I was with nothing. I lost my deposit on my apartment because I had to forfeit my lease. I had no source of income whatsoever for food, for anything. He knew that when I came down to San Diego and agreed that I could stay there until I got on my feet. And that was the agreement.
What do you mean until you got on your feet? I thought he invited you to come down to marry him.
Yes, until I got a job and was able to support myself again.
So what he said was, if you come down and if you don't have a job, We'll live together, and I will support you until you get on your feet. Is
Right.
that what you're telling me?
Right.
Okay.
Exactly.
So what happened? 6 days later, you say within 6 days it went sour. What happened in those 6 days?
Well, the way I recall it, we had a small disagreement earlier that morning. We had planned on going jet skiing that afternoon. I went and borrowed a wetsuit from someone, and I came home. There was a locksmith there, and all of my things were in trash bags in the middle of the living room.
What happened?
Didn't go exactly that way, Your Honor. Well, right from the very beginning, she said to me she was very dissatisfied with her job or living in L.A. All of her friends were in San Diego. She had no friends in L.A. She didn't like L.A.
Had you lived in San Diego before you moved to
Yes,
Los
I had.
Angeles?
About a year before that.
Okay, go ahead.
She asked me my opinion, and I said, you should come to San Diego.
Look at me, sir, not the floor.
I'm sorry. Excuse me. I suggested that if she wanted to, she could stay with me while she looks for a job, but not, it wasn't indefinite, it was temporary.
Had you discussed marriage?
No, absolutely not. No, no.
He even told me that he saw a ring that one of his best friends, I believe his name was Luigi, that he gave to his wife. He said, how does 2.5 carats sound? The sooner I get a ring on your finger, the happier I'll be. Let's go to Vegas tomorrow. I mean,
Your Honor,
this is...
that's untrue.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I was literally in fear she was going to poison my food or something or ruin my... I'm not kidding. I was actually scared of this woman.
And later today...
Did you ever hear the expression, it ain't over till it's over?
I guess.
Did you ever hear that?
Yes.
It's over.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Shelley Griffin says she gave up her job to move in with Eric Edwards after he promised to take care of her. Eric says he was just helping a friend by letting her stay with him for a short time.
Let's get to the separation. I'm curious as to why you took her things and put them outside.
Okay. Well, I helped her move all weekend, the weekend of August 3rd. I spent my entire weekend, rented a truck, did everything, moved her, and I noticed at the end of the day, after being totally beaten down, worn from doing this, that she never even so much as thanked me. And I said sarcastically, thanks, Eric, and she jumped down my throat for that. So that was one thing. There was flags all along the way, though. Right after she moved in, her mood was extremely negative and volatile. I couldn't do anything without wondering if she's going to jump down my throat about the smallest things. By Tuesday, we had broken up. And I said, listen, if you can just be nice and don't ruin my place, you can stay here while you're looking for a job still. Well, things just got worse, Your Honor.
How worse?
Well, I was literally in fear she was going to poison my food or something or ruin my... I'm not kidding. I was actually scared of this woman because there was no rhyme or reason why she would get extremely upset. And she was constantly negative.
Your Honor, can I... No? Okay.
Finally, we were split up, and I decided, okay, I'm going to try to make the best of a bad situation here, and I took her out platonically out Friday night to get some food and go to a club and stuff. The next day, I was going to take her to get some breakfast, and she, for no reason, just went berserk.
How berserk?
I had a cell phone in my car, and she said, oh, well, you got that so your other girlfriends can call you now?
Oh, because they were calling.
Your Honor, they were not.
Go ahead.
Thank you for the beautiful dress, Eric.
Miss Griffin.
Your Honor, I don't know what she's talking about.
Go ahead.
There's no other women calling me.
Whatever.
And we were, anyway.
You're not married.
She just went crazy. And she slammed my door when she got out to the car and said a bad word. And I just had enough. I just was like, I was living like a prisoner in my own home.
All right, it didn't work out.
And
so you took her stuff.
I took her stuff, only the shelved stuff. I didn't take any of the hung stuff, and I put the shelved stuff in bags. She got most of it that day. She got the rest of it the following day, and within a week, she had it all.
Okay.
So,
Ms. Griffin,
It's obvious to me that he's delusional.
Miss Griffin, it doesn't make any difference whether he's delusional or not. You don't get compensated for making a bad mistake.
May I say that the day after he threw me out, I called him, and the woman that had called me the week that I was there, while he was out running around during the day, and said, "Is Eric there?" "No." "Would you tell him thank you for the beautiful dress? I love it." So I confronted him with, her name is Sally. She said, "Tell him Sal called." The day after he threw me out, I called there. It was quite late at night. She picked up the other phone. She was there.
So what?
Well, this may
Untrue,
be why...
Just a second.
Maybe why I was thrown out. I don't know. But, Your Honor, when I was living there...
Let me ask you a question, madam. He doesn't look like he's a nut. He did come to Los Angeles from San Diego with a truck, correct?
Right.
And he packed your stuff with you?
No, he did not pack.
He schlepped your stuff on the truck?
Barely.
Miss Griffin, let's not play with each other.
Split the cost
Let's
of that,
not,
by the way.
I don't care whether you split the cost or not. It wasn't his stuff. It was your stuff.
Right.
He's not moving himself. He was moving you. So he doesn't sound like a nut to me. He sounds either he too made a mistake because he took a weekend, whatever it was, came to Los Angeles, helped you move, rented a truck, moved whatever items you had, whether they be boxes or clothes or furniture or appliances or whatever else it was. He didn't do that because he intended 6 days later to throw you out.
Right.
So clearly, it wasn't working out.
That's right.
Good.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I don't drink at all. I'm very, very straight. And she loves to party.
And later today,
He had a relationship that was 4 years long. He doesn't understand that it's finished.
No, he doesn't.
It's finished.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Shelley Griffin wants $5,000 from Eric Edwards for breaching an agreement to support her in his San Diego home. Eric says he was just helping a friend by letting her stay with him for a short time.
It didn't work out for whatever reason. You don't get compensated for that, just like you don't get compensated for a bad marriage. This was even hardly a relationship. You had dated him for a month.
I understand that it didn't work out,
So?
but the only thing that I'm here for is the cost that I incurred because I was left in a position that he promised me I would not be in.
Look, madam, you're an adult. You're 27 years old. If you made a mistake in judgment and after a month decided to move back to San Diego, where you had come from, that's your mistake in judgment. You don't get compensated for that. You were in a relationship, according to you, for a month with this man. And you want to be compensated for leaving your job, for relocating, for finding another apartment. I mean, the alternative to that is to have stayed in an apartment with him.
Right, that was...
Which was untenable for both of you. So, Ms. Griffin, get on with your life. This case is dismissed.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Out the back door to your right, please.
I don't drink at all. I'm very, very straight. And she loves to party. And she's not the same person, needless to say, when she's partying, and she does that practically daily. I think she's a little bit in need of therapy.
And now the next case.
Parties on Kelly versus Boyda. Step forward, please.
25-year-old student Mike Kelly says his ex-girlfriend, 24-year-old Nicole Boyda, won't return his possessions. Nicole claims Mike slammed her head on the floor.
Mr. Kelly, you and the defendant lived together for about 4 years. Is that right?
That's correct.
According to the papers that I've read, there was some very bad altercation that you had. Some property was destroyed. You left.
Right.
You got a restraining order.
Yes, I did.
And when you left, there was some property in the defendant's possession that you say is solely yours.
That's correct.
All right, Mr. Kelly, tell me about the altercation and the property destruction.
Well, to start, we had a really good relationship for quite a long time. Leading up to this, we hadn't been getting along for, I'd say, about a year. And what we had decided to do, or I guess what it came down to, is that I would move out and leave her the apartment that we were both living in. within a matter of about a month, I found a place and moved out. And about 2 weeks later, I had come back to get a motorcycle and some other belongings.
Okay, so you came back after 2 weeks to get the rest of your stuff.
Right.
What happened?
I was trying to talk to Nicole. I knocked on the door. She came out. We talked for just a second, and she went back in. And I knocked again. She came out. After about the third time, I was just aggravated. There's belongings of mine in there, and I kicked the door. It broke, and I left. And I found out later that I broke it pretty well.
Okay, that she had to pay for.
Yes, she did.
Okay. It was because of that incident that you got a restraining order?
Yes. Well, there was a lot of abuse that led up to me asking Mr. Kelly to leave.
What kind of abuse?
Well, there's one incident around December of '94, which I have medical reports, where he slammed my head into, we lived in the basement, so it was a cement floor covered by carpeting. When I asked Mike to leave, it was the end of, it was the first week in February. I asked him to leave in a month. I gave him a month.
Of '97?
Yes.
Well, Miss Boyda, you just told me about something that happened in 1994. You don't expect to drag up all those things that happened in '94, '95, '96, '97, and expect to be compensated for them now, do you?
Well, most of the compensation has been from the time that the door was broken until this point. On the time he broke the door, I got the restraining order, and he continued to contact me after that. As a matter of fact, I received a postcard in the mail yesterday from Mike.
That said what?
Would you like me to present it to you?
Yes, I would.
Okay. And I also received a card from him right before the case.
I'll see both.
The reason I keep having communication is that I care about her, and there was a really good friendship there that was lost, and I wish it hadn't turned out like this. And
well, I'm looking at this postcard. I mean, this isn't a threatening postcard. He's really professing nice things to you, right?
I don't see it that way. Pulsing through my veins as if caffeine, that scares me.
Well, this is the way you hear it. That this isn't a threat or a nasty postcard. Okay, let's take a look at number 2. But listen to me, Mr. Kelly. Did you ever hear the expression, it ain't over till it's over?
I guess.
Did you ever hear that?
Yes.
It's over. Miss Boyda.
Yes.
This is a lovely card.
It is.
It's a card from somebody who still professes to have very strong feelings for you. And there's nothing threatening about it. So, you had a relationship that was 4 years long. He looks like he's a pretty decent person. You may have had arguments, whatever. He doesn't understand that it's finished.
No, he doesn't.
It's finished. Okay? Now, how much did the dog cost you, Miss Boyda?
$250.
You have a receipt for that?
Yes, I do.
Can I have it, please?
I have a check. I paid restitution to the court for that. That's what I was ordered to do, along with the restraining order.
Okay, so you paid for the door?
Yes.
So just a second, Miss Boyda, he paid for the door?
I haven't received payment for
We
it.
both talked to the court, and it just takes a long time.
But you sent the check in?
Yeah, I was ordered to pay it by September 1st, and I paid it August 28th. That's the only sort of written notification.
Yes, he
that I
did.
have.
$250, so you should be getting it. The district attorney's not going to hold on to your check.
Okay.
Cross that off my list. I don't have to do any subtraction, which makes me very happy. Now, Miss Boyda, do you have his computer?
Yes, but the computer was stolen from the University of New Mexico.
The computer is his computer?
Yes.
As between yours and his, it's his?
I would say so, yes.
Good. So you're going to return it to him. Right?
Sure.
His software and accessories that go with the computer?
He can have it all.
Perfect. Gas grill.
That was a gift from my father.
He can have it.
Gas grill goes back. Mr. Kelly, you have other miscellaneous items that I'm not going to ask you because I don't need a laundry list of stuff, but you do have snow skis and boots that you bought for Nicole, which you promised to repay and hasn't paid in full.
Right, correct.
Go ahead. Let me hear.
That's it. She has made payment, so obviously there was an agreement there.
How much is owed on it?
I think it's about $300. I think it's more than that, but 300.
Do you owe him
would be
that
fine.
money?
300.
You owe him that money? Mm-hmm. Okay.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
You really look like two nice people. And it's unfortunate that you had to come to court to resolve this stuff, which is really, after a 4-year relationship, we're not talking about much.
I guess the mistake was getting in a relationship with a good friend.
Well, sometimes good friends become the best kind of long-term relationships, lifetime ones. This one didn't work out, Mr. Kelly. And I know that you're sad about it. And I assume that Ms. Boyd is sad about it also, because she also invested 4 years. So you have to move on, you know. And if it wasn't meant to be, it wasn't meant to be. There's somebody else nice out there for each of you, because you both look like, as I said, decent people. All right. Within a week of today's date, Ms. Boyd, are you going to return to Mr. Kelly his computer software and accessories, his gas grill, plus pay him the $300 that you owe him for, that you acknowledge that you owe him for the boots? Understood? Thank you. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
We had a really, really good relationship, and now that it's over, I see it a lot more clearly, where the good and where the mistakes were. And I think we both made mistakes, and we both didn't treat each other with the respect we should have. She saw the anger and she stopped me. I guess she did me a favor.
I hope.
Please.
33-year-old business consultant Nikki Mohammed is suing 18-year-old Lily Nava for stealing his Lexus and vandalizing it. Lily claims her friend was being attacked and used his car to get away.
Order, all rise. Quiet in the courtroom, please, all rise. Yeah, this is case number 305 on the calendar in the matter of Mohammed versus Nava. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat.
Oh, Bert, it always worries me when I see evidence in a plastic bag.
Me too, Judge.
Mr. Mohammed, you are suing the defendant. Would you stand up straight, please, as a court? For $750 because you say she stole your car and vandalized it. Is that right?
That's right.
You and the defendant went to a club together, correct? Dance club. You were with a male friend, and she had 2 other female friends with her. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am. It was a Mexican nightclub, so that's what
I don't see how that's particularly relevant, madam. Whether it was a Mexican nightclub or what kind of a nightclub
What would he
it was.
be doing at a Mexican nightclub? You know?
We're talking about his car, not about what kind of club it was.
Okay.
Just be quiet and pay attention. So you're inside the club and you're dancing, and I assume doing what you do at a club, and it came time for you to leave. According to your complaint, you got into your car. You were in the passenger seat, front passenger seat. Is that right?
Yes.
Your male friend and your 2 female friends were in the back seat.
Yes, that's correct.
Now, you acknowledge that you took his car.
I didn't take it. The police report doesn't say I took it, my friend took it.
That's what you say. You say your friend took the car and you left it at your brother's house. We'll get to that in a moment. Now, according to your complaint, sir, you got out of the car.
Yes.
Tell me why.
When I was leaving the club, there was a girl, excuse me, there was a girl that I spoke to earlier at the club. She flagged me down to talk to me. I parked my car, left the car running, went around the car to talk to the girl.
How far away from the car were you at that point?
2 feet. I was right next to my car. I was talking to her. My friend was in the car, so I felt safe since he was on the back seat. He got out of the car to join the conversation.
So he left the girls in the car, too, and the 2 of you guys went and talked to this other girl.
We were standing right next to the car talking to the girls, correct?
Was there one girl or more than one girl that you were talking to?
One girl.
So the 2 of you guys were talking to one girl?
I was talking, he was listening.
Okay. And then what happened?
And then as sudden, I saw my car moving, like backing up. I looked at my car, and then I saw Lily on the driver's seat. I tried to run after her to stop her, like telling her to stop. And the security guards in the club, they also ran after her, but she took off at high speed. I ran to a payphone in the parking lot, and I called 911. I reported the car stolen. The police responded within minutes. They tried to screen the whole area around like the club. They couldn't find the car.
Now, you ultimately, according to your complaints, had to take a taxi cab home for $100.
Actually, 115, and that was about 3 hours later because I had to walk for about 3 or 4 miles to get to the nearest payphone at 3 o'clock in the morning. And I called the cab, and I went
And then
home.
you got the car back. Ultimately, they found the car.
Correct. Actually, she took the keys to the police department, and she told them where the car is.
Okay. How much later?
I would say about at least 16, 17 hours later, I was able to locate my car.
Now, describe the car when you got it back, sir.
The car was very dirty. There was vomiting on the door, on the inside, on the interior and the exterior, on the carpet, on the leather. There was so much trash, like fast food trash from Jack in the Box. The property inside the car was badly vandalized.
What property?
I had a radar detector.
You had what?
A radar detector.
Radar detector.
That I paid $380 for it. This is the mounting bracket, and this is the wire connection, and that's all what's left from that device. My Ray-Ban sunglasses were flattened. Somebody has been sitting on them, so they're not usable. And as you can see, that the whole frame is twisted.
What's in the bag?
In the bag, actually, this is my belongings were left like this. If you look at them, some of them are business documents. Some of them are checkbooks that have been taken out of their cover. My credit cards were like.
Well, were these in a suitcase or an attaché case or just in the glove compartment?
I had them.
just on the floor.
I had them like this in the trunk. I had them like this in bags like these in the trunk. And then when I found the car, everything was trash and the bags were empty and the credit cards were all over. Until this point, I don't know if there is any of the credit cards missing or the IDs that I have because it's just a big mess for me to go through it in such a short period of time.
All right.
If you want me to itemize the parts that were damaged or missing.
In a minute.
Okay.
Now let's hear your story. Look at me.
Okay.
Because I read your answer.
Okay. He picked us up and we went out. There was no intention, like, you know, we didn't go out as a date. We went as friends.
He called you or you called him?
He paged me, and I called him back.
So you called him?
Yeah. And he asked me, what are you going to do tonight? I said, I'm going to go out. And then he says, well, why? Because we were going to go out before, but I was like, I didn't want to go out with him. And then he came and he picked us up.
You and two friends?
Me and my friend here. My other friend, she moved already. They picked us up. They weren't even dressed to go to a club at all. I mean, he was wearing like jeans and some shoes with no socks and like almost a t-shirt. It was like a t-shirt. And we went out. He didn't do anything. All he did was sit down the whole night. We were on our own.
Miss Nava.
Yes.
He may not have been dressed to go out to a club. I think you are not in the position to even refer to that, since in my judgment, you are not dressed appropriately for court.
Well,
do you understand?
I'm coming from work.
I don't care whether you're coming from work. Did you ever hear
from work.
Listen to me, Miss Nava.
You know.
Did you ever hear the word sweater?
I don't have a sweater.
Right.
It's hot
Come on.
outside.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
The way he was dressed was awful. Awful. No class at all. To drive a nice car like he does, he has no class to dress.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Nikki Mohammed and Lily Nava met at a club. Nikki says Lily stole his car and trashed it. Lily says her friend was being attacked and needed the car to get away.
And then what happened?
Him and his friends were out somewhere, and me and my friends were just our way. So it was time to leave, and we were leaving. Okay, I had went inside to go to the restroom. My friend was in the car, and my other friend was in the car. When I come back, my friend here, and it's sitting down, she was kind of drunk, and she was crying, saying that he was going up her skirt. Because she was out the sunroof. They were parked, and she was standing out the sunroof. That he was going up her skirt. And I was like, why are you doing that? And then he started yelling at her. I was like, why are you yelling at her? And he was like, hold on. And that's when we reversed, and he parked. So after that, my friend Sandra, she didn't drink at all. She was mad because of what he was doing to her. And she's here to explain it to you.
This one, the one who was drunk? The one who you just told me was drunk. She's going to explain it to me? This I got to hear. Right here.
Water.
Well, I was just like on the sunroof. I was outside saying bye to my friends.
You were on the sunroof?
Yes.
You mean you were sticking your head out of the sunroof?
Yeah, but the car was parked.
Oh.
And I was just saying bye to my friends because we have friends there. And all of a sudden, the guy, I don't know who it was, I just saw a guy with a beard. He was going up my dress. He lifted my dress up.
So you didn't know who it was?
No, I just saw a guy, because I saw his face and I just saw, like, a beard on his face.
Yeah, go ahead.
And that's it. And that's all it. And I got down and I sat down and I was crying because nobody has ever done that to me. And I don't like that. So.
You shouldn't drink to the point where you don't remember what's happening to you, madam.
No, I remember what happened to me. I know what he did.
She wasn't passed out.
Did you put your hands on her?
Your Honor, they were all wearing pants. None was wearing dress. So
She was wearing a dress.
I was wearing a dress.
And to answer your question, no, I did not.
Well, you were in the sun. Listen to me carefully. See, because I'm reading your answer here. Common sense suggests to me that the story that you're telling me is a lot of baloney. Let me tell you why. What I'm hearing is that he got out of the car to talk to another girl, which ticked you off.
No.
Just pay careful attention, because she's sitting in the back seat of the car. He was driving the car. How do you get him?
The car was stopped.
We were parked in front of the club.
Doesn't make any difference.
Yeah,
the car was parked.
It does make a difference.
So, hey, listen carefully, ladies. So what you're telling me is, let me suggest this scenario, if it helps you. He got out of the driver's seat. He came back in the passenger seat where you were, because you were in the front passenger seat. That's what you just told me.
She was in the middle. The sunroof,
I was in the back.
The sunroof is right in the middle of the car. And she got up, and then he got back in the car.
See, I was gone. I just got up. I was waving bye to my friends.
It's in the middle. The sunroof is in the middle of the car.
Let me ask you this question, Miss Nava. Nava? You had two friends with you. One's drunk, right? And you just came back from the bathroom. And you're at a club where there are all kinds of security guards, right? Why didn't you take your drunk friend and your other friend and get out of the car and go into the club and say, we're having some problems with the people who brought us?
Because he was yelling at us, telling us to get in the car. He was like, get in the car, get in the car. I'm like, calm down, what's your problem? He's like, get in the car, we're gonna leave already.
So what you're telling me is, listen to me, so what you're telling me is, instead of, you were frightened of him. So instead
I'm not frightened of him.
So why did you get into the car?
I wasn't frightened, she was frightened. I just wanted to go home, that's all.
So why didn't you go? Who do you live with?
My dad and my brother.
So why didn't you go into the club and call your dad and call your brother? Let me tell you what you said here in your answer. Quiet! Let me tell you why. I read your answer, and it all doesn't sound very kosher to me. You know what kosher means? They don't serve kosher food in a Mexican club. All right. You say, Sandra will appear with me in court.
She left already.
Just a second. So she's not here. Sandra, the one who you blamed for actually driving
I
the car
didn't blame
away.
her. She was driving.
No, that's what you say. I just drove
But the
along
police
with Sandra.
told-
Hey,
we didn't blame her.
Are you?
Said it.
Are you?
We didn't blame
Try
her.
not to talk over me. Listen, madam, you don't know what was happening. You were drunk and probably vomited all over the car.
No.
All right?
That's not even true.
So, listen to me. Try to listen, ladies. You say that you did this because you were afraid for your own safety and your friend's safety, and that's why you took the car.
I didn't do anything. My friend drove the car. I didn't drive nothing. She got in the car and we left. She said,
we were just in the car and she just took off.
The police called at my parents' house. This is what you wrote. And I told them exactly where they could find the car. And they picked up the keys from me with no problem or questions. And they recovered the car.
Because they asked for me at my house. And they were over my house. We came back in the morning to my dad's house. And the police called me.
You came back in the morning?
Yeah.
Well, where were you all night?
At my brother's house.
Why?
Why? Because that was the nearest place to get there. We just got there and we stood there. I didn't want to go home with the stolen car to my dad, so I went to my brother's.
Yes. I love it when a game plan comes together.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
She's older than she could drink all she wants. That's how I feel.
I wasn't driving, so it's all right.
Oh, please. They tell me Costa Rica is a very good place to live in retirement.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Nikki Mohammed is suing acquaintance Lily Nava for taking his Lexus and vandalizing it. Lily says she only borrowed the car and did no damage.
Let me see your damages, sir. You have...
I have $115 for taxi.
Okay.
I had $46.90.
Just a second, Bert. Turn on the buttons, because, you know, Mother doesn't know how to do buttons.
That's all good.
Mother knows how to do truth, but not buttons. Go.
$115 for a taxi cab.
You're a big tipper. Yeah, go ahead.
No, actually, it's about 35 miles.
It was $100 here that you wrote here in the complaint, sir. When you put it on the back here, you said $115. So I assumed that it was $100. You gave him a $15 tip. Don't lie to me. You want me to show you? You want me to show you your complaint?
Actually, it was miswritten. But anyway, it's $115 for taxi cab. It's $46.90 for rental car. It's $35 for the key emblem.
When did you rent a car?
The next day.
Why?
At 9:30, because I had no car. I had to go about my business.
Why don't you tell your girlfriend to take you?
Madam. Madam.
When I received the keys back.
Ay, ay, ay. This is our future. Go ahead. This is our future.
When I received,
come.
When I received
What
the
else?
keys, when I received the keys back, they were missing this emblem, $35 worth of emblem. The Whistler ES80 detector, that's worth $380. Ray-Ban glasses that are flattened for $125.
Get the Ray-Ban glasses.
$165.
165?
$165 for detailing.
For the what?
Detailing.
What's detailing?
Detailing the car, to clean the car, to clean
To clean it?
the
Oh, to
vomit.
clean it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't
And
want to clean out the car.
$16 for jumper cables that were missing from the trunk.
Jumper cables.
I don't think that they took your jumper cable, sir. Hey, Bert, are these nice
We didn't take
Ray-Bans?
anything from his car. We left everything there.
Quiet. You trashed his car. There isn't a question in my mind that you and your friends trashed his car.
He could have put it all together by now. Look at that bag. It's been like 6 months now.
Mr. Mohammed, I want to tell you something. Bird, you like this?
Yeah. It was still has it in the bag.
She may buy them.
125 for the Ray-Bans?
Yeah. 125 for the Ray-Bans. What else?
That's it. That's
how much
the
we got?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6,
I got
7 items.
$682.90.
$682.90.
No. That is not correct.
That's what it's got. Bird never makes a mistake with the calculator, sir.
$115.
I'm not giving you credit for the emblem, sir, on your keys. Go ahead. What else?
There are 7 items. If you add them up right.
These are the items, Bird. $165 for detailing, $125 for the Ray-Bans, $380 for the radar detector, $47 for the rental car, and $115 for a taxi cab.
$832?
Okay. Now, Mr. Mohammed, you have to exercise good judgment, sir.
Yeah, you're too old for this.
How old are you?
I'm 18. He's 30, what, 5?
Madam, nobody dragged you in the car. Nobody told you that you had to go with him.
Nobody
said.
He lied about everything.
He lied
about his
about his
name,
age.
about his age, where he lived, everything. Everything he told me was a lie.
Good, so you stole his car. Stupid.
We didn't steal it, though.
Just a second. Let me explain something to you. This is dangerous business. Dangerous business. You acted like an idiot that night. You got one friend who's drunk. I don't know where the other one is. I don't know whether she had been drinking or not. You're right.
It's all right, though.
She doesn't drink. She's old enough to drink. The other girl's not old enough to drink. She's old enough she could drink all she wants. That's how I feel.
I wasn't driving, so it's all right.
Oh, please. Costa Rica. They tell me Costa Rica is a very good place to live in retirement.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Mr. Mohammed, be smart, right? Don't fool around with babies. These are babies. They're not fully cooked yet. The only thing that they are is stupid, because they shouldn't have been in your car. And they certainly, if they felt that they were threatened, which I doubt. See, because if I really felt that they were threatened by you or your friend, I would have some compassion for them. But it seems to me, if you feel threatened in a situation and you are in a place where there is all kinds of security, you take yourself...
But they don't even do nothing.
You take yourself inside to a phone booth where there are a lot of people, and you make a phone call to your father, your brother, whatever else.
He said it himself, the phone's not till 3 blocks away.
That's not true. They're in the parking lot.
Didn't you just say that?
No.
Yeah. And you're lying.
No.
Again.
It's right there in the police report.
Always lying. Always.
There is a phone in the club.
But he said he had to walk.
There is a phone.
He said he had to walk.
He said
he could have gone to the phone in the club too.
Madam, he said he chased your car.
Where? To the end of the parking lot?
God, get her out of here. Judgment in this case is for the plaintiff in the amount of $832.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Out the back door to your right.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
The way he was dressed is awful. Awful. No class at all. To drive a nice car like he does, he has no class to dress. And right now, maybe, but when he went out with us, no way. She was drunk. You know, I knew what was going on.
But see, that's all right. I'm old enough.
This is a joke, you know? This is a joke. He's a 30-year-old man. He's kind of grown.
Professor Donald Smith swindled her out of money before she died. Donald claims he and Neilani's mother were friends, and the money was a gift.
Order. All rise. Quiet in the courtroom, please. All rise. Judge, this is case number 316 on the calendar in the matter of Flores versus Smith. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Have a seat, please.
Miss Flores, your mother died suddenly. How old was she when she died?
73.
And you claim at the time of her death, the defendant owed her money.
Yes, that is correct.
Tell me what makes you think he owed her money and why she gave him money.
Okay. At the time of her death, we went through her financial matters, and with her checkbook and her bank statements was her ledger. My mom was a bookkeeper for 45 years. My mom would not just knowingly give him a gift and write it down. I mean, if she gave a gift, she would not write it down. So
you can't go in somebody else's head.
That's correct.
Even if they're no longer here.
Right.
So you found her ledger.
Yes, I did. And with this ledger, I found his name, Donald Smith, of which I didn't know. I knew of him, but I've never met him before.
How did you know of him?
By my daughter, Tammy. Tammy had gone to dinner with them one evening. And my mom paid for dinner, which Tammy thought was kind of strange that he wouldn't pick up a tab, being a man. I mean, it just common sense. Anyway, from there, from
Not
dinner...
in the 90s.
Okay, from dinner, they went gambling. Well, from there, my mom was pulling money out, giving him money to gamble. And Tammy goes, well, that's kind of strange. When she came back home, she said, something strange is going on here. I said, what do you mean? She said, well, he's taking money from her. Well, I mean, I didn't think anything about that till I found the ledger saying that there were bills incurred for Don. Doctor bills, loans to Don, more doctor bills, Mervin's charge cards. Also, she had just recently purchased you furniture, of which my mother also kept a daily log of telephone calls that were made to him, saying whether he called, whether he didn't call. It seemed like when he had his appointments, he would call her. She would also take him to work on a daily basis, which was like across town. They live in Las Vegas. She lives on the east side of town. He lives in North Las Vegas. So it was quite a commute for her.
So what?
And
what, I mean, what does that mean to you, Miss Flores?
I mean that he was constantly calling and asking her to do things for him.
So what? Is there anything wrong with your mother's mind?
There wasn't at the time of her death, not that I know of.
And she was 73 years old, which today is not an old person.
Right. She was killed in a car accident. She hit a tree.
So let's just talk about the money that she
Okay.
gave him to go gambling, when
Right.
they were out to pay for dinner and that sort of stuff. It was her money, wasn't
That
it?
is correct, to give, yes.
So that's really none of your business.
That is correct.
So, and I assume that you don't suggest that you're looking to recoup that money from him.
Absolutely not, only
So-
what was borrowed.
Well, so that what I'd like you to do is to show me in the
Okay.
ledger where it says loan.
Okay? It's
Okay?
right here.
Because that's primarily what I'm going to look at.
Right, it's right here. Also, here are credit card bills, of which it says Dawn owes for these, that were in her ledger. And here also is the furniture that she had purchased a month before she died.
Well, where does that say that that was a loan?
It does not say it. Well, it just says Dawn owes for this.
Who wrote Dawn owes for that?
My mother.
Let me see.
Okay. Any and all transactions. Okay.
Okay. What was your mother's name?
Helen Royce.
How did you know Helen?
When I was in beauty school, she was a client, a steady client, and I did her hair. And struck up a friendship, and after I graduated, she just followed me. I still did her hair in the salons I was at, and the friendship still developed from there. She didn't talk to her kids a lot, and I didn't have any family.
That is not true. I'm telling you, that's not. Here are my
Listen.
phone bills.
Listen to me.
Okay.
It was
All
quiet.
right.
Now you have to be quiet.
All right.
From what she told me, she didn't have the best relationship with him because they had owed her money. She had loaned them $10,000 to get their house years ago and had never even attempted to pay her back, and they did have a contract with her. So that made a gap between them. She did take me to work if I needed. She made sure
I'm
she
not
was a good-
concerned about her taking you to work, sir. I'm not concerned about her taking you to dinner. This is a lady who, I assume, was a little lonely, and she found your company appealing, and she wanted to spend her money on you. That's her business.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
I didn't have any family growing up. She showed me what a nice a grandmother and a mother was.
Aww.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Neilani Flores is suing her late mother's hairdresser, Donald Smith, for loans he never repaid.
Miss Flores, I'm looking at this book that you gave me, and I assume that it's just this one page that you're talking
The
about?
2 pages,
Well,
yes.
These 2 pages.
Yes.
And let me tell you that on these 2 pages, there is only one indication of a loan. The others clearly indicate bills incurred for Dawn.
Correct.
That doesn't necessarily, madam, convince me that those were loans. You know, when you give money to somebody, especially, I can imagine a situation where you are an elderly lady, home, you have a bookkeeping mentality, you want to keep track of how much money you gave to somebody just for your own head. I mean, how many times do I wake up in the morning and I want to know how much money I have in my savings account and my checking account and how much money I gave to this child or to that child? That doesn't mean it's a loan. That just means that I'm keeping a mental note of how much that particular person has cost me that year. Do you understand? It could just as easily have been that's written in this book, because there is one place where it says loan.
That's correct.
$450 according to your mother. He still owes her $400 from this. Now, this piece of paper that it looks as if it's written in the same hand.
That is her writing, yes.
Right. But there is also no indication that this was a loan.
Right? That's correct. But if the money wasn't owed, she wouldn't have written it down.
I don't know that. I think that you have a difficult time. You're going to have a difficult time proving that. Now, when you say this is a piece of paper that says
Credit card
Dawn
receipts.
owes this.
That's correct.
$11,396.
Of which we're still paying the bills for her, yes.
Okay.
His clothing receipts. There were many more receipts
Just a
that weren't
second,
included.
Just
Okay.
a second. I'm looking for her handwriting on
Okay.
here, because I do see one, and it seems to match the handwriting in her book, in her ledger, on this credit card.
There's several Mervyn's receipts for men's clothing, of which are for him.
Well, just a second. You have to understand something, madam. What I just said to you was, there are certain things that clearly your mother had denoted as loans, O's, loans.
And all of this.
And certain things on which there are no notes.
They were all included in that book, though, Your Honor. You know, pinned inside together.
I only see one note of hers.
Right, they were all pinned inside.
Paperclip.
Paper-clipped inside.
What?
There were also
What I think she's trying to say is that my mother-in-law was keeping track of the bills and anything she had spent on them, and that what she's trying to say is that those look like they were all incurred as a loan to him.
Looks like is not a loan.
Okay.
Sir. Looks like is not a loan.
Okay.
It has to be clearly marked. He says that they were not loans. He says that they were gifts. Is that what you're telling me?
Yes.
They weren't
clearly,
gifts, Donald.
Miss Flores, don't talk. Miss Flores, don't
That's
talk
what's
to him.
wrong with the elderly, though. That's how they're getting ripped off.
Miss Flores, sometimes you're absolutely right. And sometimes a lady who is 73 years old, living far away from her family, and I assume you live far enough away so that you didn't see your mother a couple of times a week. Is that a fair statement?
Correct.
If she has to pay for some companionship by buying a present or by giving a shirt or by buying furniture, unfortunately, that happens. And then when there is a tragedy like this, the family feels as if their parent was taken advantage of. At the time your mother was alive, I guarantee you, she didn't feel as if she was being taken advantage of. She was having a good time. Did your step up here. You went out to dinner and you went gambling with your grandmother and the defendant?
Yes, I did.
Did your grandmother look like she was having a good time?
Sure.
Right. How many times did you go gambling with your grandmother?
Every time I went up there.
Well, how often was that?
Once every couple months. Whenever I made it up to Vegas, I'd go.
So once every couple of months, you took Grandma out for a spin.
Yes,
how many times did you go gambling with Grandma?
Usually once a week.
I took Grandma. Grandma didn't take me.
It doesn't make any difference.
But she was living from check to check to check. And then by the time of her death, as you can see, she started out with $35,000 in the bank. 2 years later, she depleted her savings. Now we have bills that we're paying on for him.
Just a second. You don't seem to understand something. It's her money.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
You make me nauseous. If this camera went on, I swear to God, my dad would knock me out. I swear to God.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Nailani Flores is suing her late mother's hairdresser, Donald Smith, claiming he swindled her out of thousands of dollars before she died.
You're not responsible for your mother's debts. You know darn well that you're not under the law. So if you have to pay out any money for her, it's being paid out of her money.
What money? There's no money left.
Then if there's no money left, madam, then you don't have to pay anymore because children and grandchildren are not liable for the debts of their parents. I'm certain that your lawyer told you that. This is her money. If she wants to go gambling with him and give him money 5 nights a week because that makes her happy, it may not be smart, it may not be preserving her estate, but she's lonely and she's not going to live for every 2 months while when her granddaughter decides to come up and pay her a visit and take her out to dinner and gambling. That doesn't mean he's necessarily a nice person. I'm not even suggesting that to you. And I'm not suggesting that he didn't take advantage of her. He probably did.
I think so, too.
Absolutely.
I know. Why not?
A lot of people take advantage of the elderly.
That's sad.
Well, it is sad. However, it made her happy.
Why was she paying his rent at a job?
It made your grandmother happy. If she didn't want to do it, she wouldn't have done it. She was of sound mind, and if she had to pay for an occasional escort, which is what he was, and he said that they were really good friends. Bull. However, if she had to pay for it so that she had company a couple of times a week, that made her happy. Why are you complaining now?
Because we're paying for his bills.
No, you're not. What do you mean you're paying?
Because in the will it stated my mom is the executor of the will. So any monies be paid out for any of her expenses be paid out of that. So we did that.
What's your first name?
Tammy.
Are you dumb?
No, I'm not.
Well, then let me tell you something. What you're saying to me is I tried to explain it to you. Because your mother is the executrix of your grandmother's will, she does not have to go to her bank account, her personal bank account, and pay 1 sou for your grandmother's debts. The only money that can be used to pay for your grandmother's debts is your grandmother's money, which is not your money, no matter what you think. It is not your money. There may not be anything left for you after you pay the debts, but you 3 people do not have to dig into your own pocket to pay for anything. So stop thinking about it as your money. It's not. It was your grandmother's money, and she could do whatever she diddly pleases with it, and it pleased her. It gave her a certain amount of pleasure to sport him around. I don't know why, but it did. Now that I've taken care of that area, now I talk to you. There were certain things clearly here that she indicated you owed her. Take a deep gulp. You want to tell me what you owed her?
Nothing that she gave, it was all gifts.
That's not true. That's clearly not true.
If it was as a loan, there would have been a contract made that I would have signed.
Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me?
No, I'm not. The 450 was I was in between jobs and she helped me out with the rent. I paid back the first payment of 40, and when I gave her that 40, she looked at me and says, that's all I wanted to know was that you made the effort. She was forget about the rest.
Well, but that's not what it says here. That was a loan. Because that's what she has denoted here, that it was a loan. Now, let's talk about this furniture. How'd you get the furniture?
That was delivered to me, my understanding, as a housewarming and a birthday present. I moved into a house I'm renting with my companion. It was a month of my birthday also. She wanted to go to a furniture store. She was asking me what I liked. I said, why are you asking me this? You know, I'm not looking for furniture. And a couple weeks after I'd moved in, what I had picked, she knew that I had liked, she had bought and delivered.
You work, right?
Yeah.
I can understand buying you some clothes. I can understand taking you out to dinner. I can understand even giving you some gambling money when you go out. I don't have a problem with that. They may have a problem with that, but I certainly don't have a problem with that. I do have a problem with $1,379 for furniture for you and your companion.
That was her choice. It was not asked of her. That's what she wanted to do.
No, I don't believe that. I don't believe that. That doesn't sit right with me. You have 2 men who live together, both employed, and there comes a point when taking from this lady became being a pig. Certain things she wants to buy you some clothes, she wants to take you out for dinner, she wants to make sure she has some company. But then there comes a point when it's sort of sickening. This is sort of sickening.
Why?
Why?
That was her choice. We didn't ask. I didn't ask.
I don't believe you. Did you just happen to be home when the furniture was delivered?
No, I was at work. I had to go home.
You didn't mean you didn't know it was going to be delivered? It was all a surprise to you.
They called me and I had to go down.
That didn't answer my question.
No, I did not know it was going to be delivered that day.
You're full of baloney.
She also paid all of his doctor bills also.
I see that here. That's not marked alone, madam. It's not marked alone.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
You're never going to recoup all the money that you gave him. It's not going to happen. But you should have at least some comfort in knowing that your mother had a good time. She did. She had some young people around her that made her feel good. Your mom didn't call an escort service and said, send me somebody to have a good time with. They treated her nicely. They showed her a good time. They probably made her laugh. They gambled together. She probably enjoyed going to a casino with them better than going by herself to a casino. You know that that's true. And they took financial advantage of her. It's been happening for ages. But you don't recoup that unless there's some clear indication or some common sense, like with this furniture. shirts and stuff I can understand. But a house full of furniture for 2 working men, I don't. Okay, there are certain things that are clearly marked as loans. I'm counting up only those things, and I am including in it the furniture.
Okay.
Because you're sitting on it, you're sleeping on it, you're going to pay for it. And all those things together come to $2,104, judgment for the plaintiff. That's all.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
Look at this face because he's going to prey on you next. Yeah.
Evil little woman.
Evil.
Evil?
No, you're evil.
He had a free e-ticket right on the woman. He made her feel like they were friends. The woman never bought herself furniture in 20 years. She turns around and gives this guy $1,700 worth. Not going to happen.
And she sat on it, and she slept on it, too.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure she did.
You are. You are so stupid.
Oh, you know me so well. I never want to see you again, and I wish to God I never saw you in the first place. And now I know why she stayed away from you for so long.
Dad, don't even go there.
You'll see me again, pal. Makes you a real man that you prey on old people and you can't even support yourself. What kind of law? Where's your family?
I hope that this case has proved that, you know, that there will be justice for the elderly, that they're constantly preyed on like people like you.
Is Christina of violence and invasion of privacy. Christina is countersuing for damage to the room and mental and sexual harassment.
Order. All rise. Judge, it's number 80 on the calendar in the matter of Douglas versus White. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Have a seat, ma'am. Have a seat.
Mr. Douglas, I've read your complaint. I've read your response. Ms. White, don't understand a lot of it. What I gather, sir, is that you rented a room from the defendant.
That's correct.
And things, according to your complaint, became untenable there. You moved out.
Yes, ma'am.
And you're suing the defendant for $5,000.
Yes.
You rented him a room. You say he moved out owing you a month's rent because he didn't give you 30 days' notice. So you're suing him for $5,000.
Plus sexual harassment.
Well, my limit is $5,000, so I assume that everything that you're suing for is part of your $5,000.
That's correct.
It's better be good. Let's go.
It's pretty good. I moved in. When I went to apply for the room, I asked for no drinking, no smoke, or little smoking, and no violence of any kind.
Is this a private house?
Yes, it is.
All right.
This was just at the time of the application.
Excuse me?
This was at the time of the application for the room. There were 3 people there, the defendant, Rose, her witness, and another gentleman.
Okay, so what happened?
The first month I moved in, it was pretty calm, but thereafter it just got worse.
How did it get worse?
The defendant fought with her roommate constantly in the middle of the night. They'd get drunk and fight. They'd throw chairs at each other, beat each other up. This was happening every night.
So why didn't you just tell him you were leaving?
I couldn't afford to at the time.
Just a second. What do you mean you couldn't afford to?
I'm on a fixed income, and it was costing me $450 a month to live there. I didn't have enough money to move, period.
Well, how much did it cost you to move in?
$450. That was, she gave me a break. I just had to pay the first month's rent and half of the second month.
So you didn't have much of an investment in there, so why couldn't you just move out?
No place else would do that. I had to have first and last month.
Well, that's not the defendant's fault, sir.
I didn't blame the defendant for that.
Well, so
I just could not afford to move.
So what are you suing the defendant for $5,000 for?
Because she didn't take it. The money that I paid her was supposed to go as part of the rent or part of the mortgage payment. It never got paid.
What does that have to do with you?
A lot, because the mortgage company's going to throw me out.
What does that have to do with you? You're giving her $450. I'm trying to figure out where this $5,000 number came from.
Well, on top of the not paying the rent, my electricity was shut off.
When?
The the last part of January.
And how many months had you been living there?
3 months at that time.
How come the electricity got shut off?
Because he took over control of my house. He told all the tenants, because I got notice of trustee sale, because I'd been trying to save my house after divorce. He got all the tenants together and said, you don't have to pay rent, you don't have to pay any utilities. And they didn't at that point. They all stopped.
Why did he tell the people that they didn't have to pay rent?
Because he said, because my house was being supposedly foreclosed, and it didn't.
Oh. So you found, let me understand this. You found out, sir, that the house was in foreclosure.
He took...
Just a minute. Okay. You found out that the house was in foreclosure.
Yes.
And you had a conversation with the other tenants that if the house was in foreclosure, they didn't have to pay.
No.
That's incorrect. I'm sorry.
Who are you?
I'm the witness. I lived in the household at the same time.
Okay. I'll get to you then.
Thank you.
That's important. Did you step up here on one question?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you pay rent?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you pay electric?
Yes, ma'am.
You have your proof of that?
I did not bring that. I didn't know I was going to be on trial myself.
When this person moved out, they owed me 2.5 months out of the 4 months they were there. And I'm suing...
This
yes,
lady.
that person right there owes me over 2.5 months. They didn't pay diddly squat to me. And they moved in with this guy.
You have proof?
I do have proof, but it's in Sacramento.
That you paid the last 2 months' rent?
Yes, ma'am.
Did not happen.
Sit down. Are you currently living with him?
Yes, ma'am.
Not with. We're sharing an apartment. Yeah, I want that.
I still don't know where we get $5,000 from, Mr. Douglas.
The electricity was shut off. She shut it off. It wasn't shut off because of the thing. I had to have it turned back on.
So
she stole several of my own personal things
like
from
what?
me. From I have a list. Would you like to see it?
Sure. A miniature pulpit? What is that?
A friend of mine had a pulpit made for me, a small one.
Why would your friend do that?
Because I'm a minister, or was a minister at the time he had it made.
How long ago was that?
2 years.
What kind of a minister?
A Christian minister.
I mean, did you have a congregation?
No, I was a counselor.
Counselor for whom?
Marriage counselor.
I'm going to, listen to me. I'm going to read you a few things, and I want you to tell me whether you have any of these things. Ready?
I'm ready.
A miniature pulpit.
That was left in the room and it's still there.
So it's there, ready for him to get.
Yes, I took pictures.
Vinyl and wire lampstand.
That was left in the room. I have pictures.
Cookie jar.
That is in my case right here. It was left in the room.
2-slice toaster.
That was left in the kitchen where it was left.
Just say,
Sure.
I tell you what,
In
just
kitchen.
say yes.
Yeah.
Just say yes that you have it, okay? Sorted couch pillows.
No.
Lavender blanket.
No.
A year's worth of new magazines.
Left in room.
Footstool.
My property. Extortion.
Your property.
My property.
Okay. Computer, monitor, and stand base. Do you have that?
No, I don't.
Set of 4 relaxation tapes.
No,
Do you
I
have
don't
that?
have this.
All right. You now know what she has. Shep. You now know what she has, and we'll make arrangements for you to go pick them up. Now, what else are you suing her for?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
What do you mean you didn't know who this person was?
I didn't know this person was a man.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Minister Joseph Douglas says he rented a room from Christina White but felt trapped in a nightmare. Christina says Joseph was the problem.
Now, what else are you suing her for? So far, I haven't heard anything near $5,000 worth. All that merchandise that she has, you can have back. I still have... Stop looking at your papers. Tell me where $5,000 is, Mr. Douglas.
Your Honor, I went through pure hell living in that house for 4 months.
Then you should have moved, sir.
I couldn't afford to.
That's not her fault.
Well, it is her fault.
No, sir. She didn't charge you. She didn't charge
me
you.
something when I moved in there, Your Honor.
Okay.
And she didn't fulfill that agreement.
No.
And I have a witness to that, too, or a statement from the other witness.
I don't read statements from witnesses. I hear witnesses. I don't take statements from witnesses. So far, if you moved into an apartment, $450 a month rent. She didn't charge you security.
$300 a month.
$300 a month. She didn't charge you security. She didn't charge you first and last. You didn't bring in a whole bunch of stuff, according to you. And if you couldn't afford to move out, she wasn't saying to you, she didn't keep you prisoner there. You could have moved out. Because you can't sue her for $5,000 because you were unhappy there, sir. You're unhappy, you move. This is America. All right, you are countersuing him for what?
I am countersuing for the damage to my room and house.
To your what?
For the damage to my room and house. He left the room filthy, and I have pictures of how the room was left and the stuff he left in the room here, if you care to see some of that. May I?
Come on, get somewhere near $5,000, madam.
Okay. We're getting to that right now.
Well, then let's get to it, because this other stuff is nonsense.
Okay.
He wasn't happy living there. You weren't happy having him there. He left, period. End of discussion.
I wish that had been the end of it, ma'am. The mental and sexual harassment.
Well, you can tell me about that.
First of all, when he left, that was a bit of a charade. He promised me a note that he would pay. He sent someone else to pick up the stuff the next day. And then the day after that, on the 9th, he sent me this threatening, harassing note. And he
Show it
ends
to
it
him and see
with a
if
note
he...
with, "Have a nice day. It may well be one of your last."
Did you send that note, sir?
Yes, I did.
Can I see it, please? Dear Charles and Christine.
All of his correspondence has been addressed that way. The small claims court was addressed that way.
Why do you address the mail like this, sir?
Because that's the way I filed it in court, and I wanted the court to know that I didn't know who this person was until a month before I moved out. That's why I'm angry.
What do you mean you didn't know who this person was?
I didn't know this person was a man.
Because, just a second.
Order.
What? Well, why, sir, would you address mail?
Because I didn't know whose name to send it in, Your Honor.
Well, how was this person introduced to you? How did you...
Christine.
You identified yourself as Christine.
Christine, yes. Totally.
All the time?
All the time, 100%.
Not all the time, Your Honor.
100%.
When she was at home, it was whatever.
I have a witness here that would dispute that. That's ridiculous.
Listen, have you officially changed your gender?
Everything, my legal gender, as shown in my driver's license,
is female.
Changed. Yes, it is.
Okay, and when was that done?
About 4 years ago.
Okay. Am I correct that the sexual harassment that you are referring to is the fact that he has addressed documents that he's sent out to people using both your female name and the name
My
Charles?
previous married name, yes.
Okay.
That is just the beginning of it.
Go ahead.
Him and this other person co-conspired to get me fired at my job. They've filed 2 Better Business Bureau complaints alleging, Diane was the first one, alleging went into my store and found this person who was, quote, a man dressed as a woman.
Let me see.
And it has my business response to it, and this is also, he followed with the next day one that alleged the same thing. And everything was fraudulent. They said they could talk to my supervisor. It did not happen.
I don't know what this is about. You want to tell me?
This is about them, this person here, claiming they came in my store and saw me as some stranger, and I've known that person for 2
Just a minute.
years.
I'm talking about this gentleman. Forget about her.
Okay.
She's not party to this action.
He followed up with the same identical thing.
No, Your Honor, that's not true.
It's right there in black and white.
I wrote the letter, but I wrote it because I objected to this person working in the women's department.
Just a second. You wrote to the Better Business Bureau advising them that the defendant was working in the women's department of a store.
Yes.
And she was actually a man, and you thought that that was wrong.
Yes, I did.
Why did you do that?
Because I think it's wrong.
Did I hear you correctly? Did you just curse in here?
I might have.
Get out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
But I think you've got a lot of nerve with this. This is pretty vindictive. This is pretty vindictive and pretty nasty.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Minister Joseph Douglas and Christina White are at war over rent, invasion of privacy, and allegations of sexual harassment.
That was typical of the situation I lived in. I couldn't do anything.
Then you should have left.
I tried.
Oh, please, give me a break.
I didn't have the money.
That's too bad. That's too bad. That's not her fault. That's not my fault. How old are you, sir?
50.
If you're 50 years old and you didn't have $400 to move out and find another place to live, that's a real problem.
Your Honor.
What?
It would have taken $1,200 to
Didn't
move.
cost you $1,200 to move
I
into
got
her
lucky,
apartment.
or I thought I had.
Well, you thought you got lucky, and you didn't.
Obviously.
And you didn't. But I think you got a lot of nerve with this. This is pretty vindictive. This is pretty vindictive. Just a second. Pretty vindictive and pretty nasty. This having.
I still object to her working there. I don't care if it's vindictive or nasty to anybody else. She shouldn't be working in a woman's department.
What? Where did you go to divinity school, sir? Where did you graduate from divinity school?
Florida.
What?
Florida.
Give me the name of the school. Just a second. Give me the name of the school.
United Faith Ministry.
United
Bible,
Faith Ministry?
Yes, Bible College.
And how long did you go to this United
3
Faith
years.
Ministry? When?
1986 through 1989.
Did you graduate from there?
Yes, ma'am.
After 3 years?
Yes.
Divinity school?
Yes.
Where did you go to school before that? You don't go to divinity school for 3 years, sir.
Well, I did.
You don't get a
Honor.
doctor of divinity in 3 years. Unless you get your doctor of divinity and close the cover before you strike.
I do not have a DD, Your Honor.
Huh?
That's a doctor of divinity.
Yeah? So what are you?
Mine is in religion. It's a PhD, and it's an honorary PhD, but it's still valid.
Right. I just want to make sure we understand each
Okay.
other, sir. Because I understand you. This is a vindictive thing to do. What else?
Well, basically my job was pretty much ruined his career, ruined that
Did you
place.
get fired from your job?
Not
Good.
yet, but it's going
Oh,
back.
that's something.
Okay, I
Let me
have
see
also
the
my
letter.
counseling. I've had to start counseling because of what they've done. I mean, sexual harassment and what happened at my work. Because I used to go to work and feel happy, and now I go there and I just feel like I've been raped at my work by this man and this other person.
Yeah.
Thank you. And caused breach of contract by other tenants by saying that they didn't have to pay rent or utilities, and that's the only reason is I ran out of
Listen
money.
to me. I'm not entertaining that. The fact that he told other tenants that they did not have to pay rent or utilities, and they listened to him
Yes,
because
they did.
because they were stupid. Go after them in a separate action, each one
Yes.
of them for money that they owe you.
I
What
am.
else?
He interfered with my mortgage contract when they tried to serve me the trustee sale notice, and I was home. He stopped him from doing that, and he got the notice, and he read it, and had him put it on the door. He actually said I wasn't home.
They posted the notice. That's all it was,
After
Your
you told him
Honor.
I wasn't home. You lied.
They had already posted it.
You lied. I was home.
She's ready to rule.
Listen to me. He has, as abhorrent as I believe it is, he has a right to voice his objection as a citizen under the First Amendment to the Better Business Bureau with regard to someone who he knows is a man who is now a woman working in a woman's shop.
Well, he didn't know that from me, Your Honor.
Well, he may not have known it from you, but that happens to be true. So he has a First Amendment right to write to the Better Business Bureau. His motives, I question, just as I question his reverendship. All right. But that is not actionable. It's not sexual harassment. He's saying that he finds that not a reasonable situation to have you working in a woman's department in a store. Now, I don't know what business is it of his unless he goes in to buy ladies' things and goes into the dressing room, but he's allowed to do that because that's what the First Amendment to the Constitution says he's allowed to do. Listen, you get nothing from this court, sir. Absolutely, positively nothing except within 4 days, escorted. You can go and retrieve the items that you will please have put to one side someplace so we can pick up all the items that he has left in your apartment.
Right, my house.
Now, most of the damages that you are requesting from this court have to do with this harassment and making your life miserable.
Yes. Inside and out.
Inside and out. He left without giving you 30 days notice. Is that correct?
That's correct.
I had a 3-day or quit notice, Your Honor, so I left.
You didn't leave within 3 days. You hung on.
Just a minute. Okay. He left. I would assume, Miss White, that you are very happy to be rid of him.
Very.
That you didn't want him around for an additional 30 days. Correct?
I actually offered he could stay there if he promised to catch up on the rent.
Just a second. From everything that you've told me, you were very happy that he moved out when he didn't stay an additional 30 days.
Sure. I mean, that's
good.
Yes.
Give him back everything that you owe him. This case is dismissed.
Why does that excuse you may step out?
On the next Judge Judy.
नेट का मसला है। सबर है, नेट का मसला है, सबर करो।
I got to. क्या कल रुको मैं पहनता हूँ अच्छे से कपड़े ये लो भाई ये टट्टी सी है मेरे पास और गन नहीं है
कौन से कर लूं, कौन से मोड करूं? इमोट्स तो है, कौन से?
इसके बाद दूसरा मोड कर जो वो वाला है मम्मी सूट वाला है हाँ ये वाला इसके इसके बाद वो बाजू फैलाने वाला कर
ये तो अभी पैसे ही आ गया। अच्छा, और कौन कौन से? किधर चला?
उस्मान फॉलो
हम्म अच्छा
वो था ही नंगा तो नंगा ही नजर आएगा।
ये तुम लोग के साथ डाउनलोड नहीं है इस वजह से। चलो एक ऐसा करो, वाव वाले लगा लो, वो जो वाव वाले खेल लेंगे।
लगा
पहले मेरे रूम के लिए, रूम मेरे साथ पढ़ो।
M to 4 का खेलना
चल